Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
Huh? It's a house!
There's mosquitoes the size of bald eagles in that dadgum swamp. Did you hear what I said? There's mosquitoes the size of bald eagles in that dadgum swamp.
I gave him a nice dinner tonight. Yeah. Well, we're on a second show here. Hopefully we'll reach the goal on this one. I mean, my God, that was 3 hours of almost hell the last show. And I don't even mean that part. I mean that hearing was just, you know. They shouldn't even call that a hearing. It should just be something else, like hellhole. All right, so we've already done 3 hours of show today, and I didn't reach the goal. This show is going to probably take 3 hours again. All right. So let's see what happens. Where is it? Right there. Okay.
Absolutely senseless and horrific acts of violence. And all Nikolai Mew had to do.
So this is going to be, I sped it up like it's 130%. It's, yeah, I don't know what the deal is either because I'm not out. I can't put out the notifications or anything. So there's only 126 people watching. Like the last show only had 200. I don't know if there's something else going on that I'm missing or what the hell's going on, but there you go. Maybe I didn't put one of the famous cases in the title. Hey, thanks, Bama Budgets. Yeah, let's get the ball rolling, she said. Or he said, I don't know what Bama, if that's a girl or a guy. There's an 80% chance that it's a female, though. 80% chance.
Absolutely.
Anyways, you guys want to listen to this now, or? Here, let me open it up with, I'm going to close it down, I'll open it up with a different software.
Absolutely senseless and horrific.
Alright, here we go. Thank you, Sirius Black.
Absolutely senseless and horrific acts of violence.
So there's the closing argument by the prosecutor, then the defense, and then the prosecutor gets to have a rebuttal. And the guy that does the rebuttal, he's just so, I don't even know what to say. He's just like going, he's weird, isn't he? He's a weird guy. That, I mean, that's his argument. It's lame. Hey, thanks, Sirius Black, and Matt is a cut snake.
And all Nikolai Mew had to do was walk away. All he had to do was walk away.
Yeah. All he had to do was walk away is the dumbest argument in the world for this case. It has nothing to do with anything. It's meaningless.
That's what you've seen in this case. You saw he told Lieutenant Hart, they told me I can't run away. Obviously not true. Think about the result of his actions. Everything you've seen in this trial, the horrific injuries.
You can run away. You're not required to.
the death of Isaac, why didn't he just walk away? His only explanation when testifying was, I stood my ground. I stood my ground. First of all,
and this is for the Apple River homicides that we were talking about yesterday, and I made that video where there's that fighting, you know, a knife. Well, I guess there's an older guy named Nikolai Mui or something like that. He got, he was in a river looking around for something, and these kids just started making fun of him, calling him a pedophile, all these different things. And they started surrounding him, and then it turned into where he defended himself and with the knife, and he wasn't really aggressive with the knife, though, if you think about it. Like, he wasn't like charging after people and just stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. What I see is people lunging at him, and he stabs, like kind of jabs at him with the knife, you know? That's what I see.
Wisconsin is not a stand your ground state.
Objection.
Overruled. I'll talk about that specifically from your jury instructions. Second, that's not true, as I'll show you.
Well, the teens weren't scared, you know.
He didn't just stand his ground. I'm not going to defend the actions of the boys who testified. It was cruel what they were calling Nikolai. They shouldn't have been mocking him, calling him predator, raper. But their conduct did not justify what Nikolai did. You heard from Alina, Isaac's mother, about her son Isaac. He was 17 years old when he was killed. He enjoyed golfing, spending time with friends. He recently started a new business, detailing cars. He was an honor student looking forward to going to
Oh, wow, he loved golf? Okay, I changed my mind.
college. His death was senseless. One of the things defense said in the beginning of trial in their opening was they're glad there's a video. So are we. Without the video, Nikolai would have slipped away. The only reason he was apprehended was because law enforcement had that screenshot of him. The video doesn't fade with time. It's not biased, not influenced by alcohol.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is what they don't mention in all this is that Isaac was one of the main sort of instigator guys who went right over to his face early in the video.
As I told you in the beginning of this case, the violent episode from the video is about 25 seconds, from when he punches Madison until you see him walking off after stabbing 5 people. Nikolai is not seen in that video for 8 to 9 seconds.
Hey, thanks,
Until the point
Vibe
you see him
Chick.
walking away. You don't see him stab Dante.
Vibe Chick said, "You are my favorite true crime creator. Thank you for all your hard work. You are appreciated so much." Oh, well, thank you. I think there's some people who get it, what I do here, and some people don't. You know, like, I mean, the thing is I know it's weird and everything for a lot of people, but like the women, like right there, you send in the $20, the super chats and everything like that you guys send in make a huge difference for our overall goals that we do. I mean, obviously it helps support me and my channel, but we do a lot of great things too with the money. You know, that's the weird part about it. Like, you know, people like Katie there probably didn't get it, but you know, it's just that's what happens here. We, you know, 58,000 last year given away from the income. You know, yes, you guys are the ones that provided the income to make that happen. But you know, I just do the shows, and you guys support the channel. So, anyways, thank you very much.
Some of you may have wondered why we called Marion Davis.
And I also hope you guys think that I think through cases better than most of the people that are true crime YouTubers. Like, I literally think through and come up with a logical reason of what's going on in cases. And I think that's why I'm on some of the shows that are out there, you know, and the documentary and stuff, because I actually think through and come up with stuff that's legit, not just garbage spewed out to keep people watching. Hey, thank you, Deco Trash. These parents should be embarrassed. I totally agree.
Certainly wasn't for his eyewitness testimony, but he took a video. He took a video that captured a different angle than Jawan's video. It's grainy, it's difficult to see, but you can see enough. And it shows Nikolai seeking Dante out and stabbing him when his group is in the opposite direction. Nikolai walks into a crowd of people, stabs Dante. Before I show you that video again, I need to provide some context from Jawan's video. So here at 2 minutes and 6 seconds, this is after Nikolai has stabbed the 4 people
Thank
that
you,
you
chicken
see
wings.
parts of on video. He's standing next to Ariel. Ariel's there. Nikolai's not by himself. 2 minutes, 8 seconds, that's the last you'll see of Nikolai until you see him walking off in this video. You see Dante, or AJ, the boys running back to their tubes, and you see Larian filming in the background. Larian captured what Nikolai was doing at this point, even though this video didn't.
That guy looks like he's about to explode. I wonder if that's the brother of
And here,
Isaac.
in a moment, you can see the edge of Dante's swim trunks on the right.
Thank you, Jessica Schuba.
You can see the light on top, the dark on bottom. At this point in Larian's video, Dante's just been stabbed.
Like this guy right here, he's pretty intense.
The next you see of Nikolai, he's walking off. You can see Dante in the background, holding his stomach, looking down at his wound. Take it down. Well, actually, you can keep it up for a second, sorry. And then for further context, you see Alex Bang running to Isaac.
We'll see, Lorraine. We'll
Let's
see.
see Larian's video.
He might be found guilty, but it would be an erroneous judgment.
Okay, I have the screen. Remember, Nikolai admitted he walked up to Larian. He walked up to Dante and stabbed him. He admitted Dante was the last person he stabbed. Here you can see Nikolai, dark swim trunks, bigger build. On the right, you can see Dante, swim trunks, lighter on top, darker on bottom. You'll see Nikolai walk up to
Lorraine.
Dante and stab him in the chest.
Your brain doesn't work correctly, Lorraine.
You'll see Dante recoil from the stab.
That's
You
because
see the boys on the right running to their tubes.
Ridiculous.
And in the second here, you'll see Alex Bang.
Thank you,
You'll
Rio
zoom in on him as he
Mazzaroni.
runs to Isaac. I'm going to show that again.
He didn't initiate the physical contact. Lorraine.
A few things to note. There's nothing between Nikolai and Larian. He's not surrounded. His friend Ariel is there at this point. There's nothing to the left and behind Nikolai, except his group in the distance that you can't see on video. He walks away from those directions towards a group of people and stabs Dante in the chest, not standing his ground. He's seeking out Dante. That's retribution, not self-defense. And recall too the DNA results. Isaac's DNA and Dante's DNA was the only DNA on the knife.
Why do you hope he's found guilty, my 3 sons? Because you have 3 sons? I mean, this guy, why would you hope he's guilty?
You probably noticed throughout this trial, not a lot of witnesses come off looking great after they testify. There's some exceptions. Obviously, the Good Samaritans who went to aid Isaac and AJ. Eric Von Williams included in that from Nikolai's group. He's the only one who went to their aid. Sheena Lowell, you heard her testify from the crossing group. You saw her just standing in the background watching what was going on the whole time.
Yeah, so this guy,
Completely sober. You heard her testify. Nikolai punched Madison. She has zero
he
connection.
sells
with
the
anyone,
same
zero
video
contact,
differently.
everything broke up.
It's funny.
Tony is another one. He only comes in to break up what he thinks is a fist fight. He's directing Nikolai towards Nikolai's group.
Right, Lorraine.
Nikolai
You
turns
actually believe
and
that?
stabs him twice.
What a psycho.
Another one I submit to is an exception. That
Lorraine actually believes that he pushed another woman away so that he could stab everybody else. Like, that was the reason he did it. Are you kidding me? You sound like a lunatic. Honestly, I'm not just trying to say that. You sound like an absolute lunatic to say that. That's ridiculous, okay?
acted admirably is Isaac. His death was tragic and horrific.
Yes, you are entitled to your opinion. Definitely. Everybody can have an opinion, but I don't have to respect your opinion at all. Do you understand that? You can have an opinion. I'm going to respond the way I feel like it. You have the right. I respect your right to have an opinion, but I'm not required to respect your opinion. And I think that should be the terminology that everybody uses instead of, you have to respect their opinion. Well, that's bull crap. That means you have to respect a pedophile's opinion. I don't. I'm sorry. Okay? And I don't really care what with the verdict. And here's what you know is the prosecution knew that they were in trouble. That's why they added in all those lesser to hopefully get something on the way out. Now, apparently the jury wants to see the video again tomorrow in the morning. You know, I actually think they're trying to, I don't know what they're doing. It might be they're either trying to convince one holdout for guilty or one holdout for the other way around. You know, I don't know.
This is what you see of Isaac.
Thank
in the
you,
video.
Jane Smith, you bastard.
On the left, he's standing next to his tube, not moving away from his tube. He's pointing at Nikolai to leave. In the middle, when Nikolai turns back to Isaac, Isaac puts his hands up, fingers splayed. The only other thing you see of Isaac is him standing in the background. When the other boys are mocking, calling names to Nikolai, Isaac is just standing in the background. He's not saying anything, he's not doing anything, he's not jeering. He's just standing there holding their tubes. There's been a pretty serious mischaracterization of Isaac's actions with regard to when he gets stabbed. Defense has tried to classify it as a strangulation. Defense accused the state in openings of being selective in the photos we use.
I mean, it is kind of a shove to the neck. You know, whatever you want to call that. If you slow it down, it looks like he's strangling. But he shoved him to the neck. Who cares? What's the difference? You know? Like, what? You know, what difference does it make? Like, it's not, it's playing, but there's no audio. Hold on. Wait, is this really what the whole thing looks like? Let me check this out. Hold on. If it is, I can play it on my other program.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, the whole damn thing is corrupted. All right, well, we'll just have to switch over to the good old this, where it's the actual file. And we'll put it way over here. We're at the 7-minute. All right, it's right around in this area.
Isaac's actions with regard to when he gets stabbed. Defense has tried to classify it as a strangulation. Defense accused the state in openings of being selective in the photo.
No, how am I being a bully talking about bullies, my three sons? How's that being a bully talking about bullies? You sound, I mean, some of the comments people make are moronic in here. Embarrassing, really. Like stupid people.
Photos we used, the frames, to try to show a certain narrative about Nikolai smiling. As you've seen, he's smiling a lot in the video. But defense is actually doing that when it comes to Isaac. Nikolai never said anything about being choked, never said anything about pain on his neck. Even when specifically asked by the start nurse, never mentions anything. And the video doesn't lie. So,
by the way, the verdict won't slap me into reality at all. Just like in the Justin Ross Harris case. I thought that prosecution was an absolute pile of crap, Lorraine, and I bet you're one of the ones who was cheering them on. Yay! They got this guy, Justin Ross Harris. He intentionally killed his son Cooper. Yay! He did it. He did it. And I told everybody it's just garbage. This whole thing was manipulated, and guess what happened? The Supreme Court overturned his conviction. All right. So yes, sometimes people are found guilty, but in this case, I don't see it. Oh, you're a Rittenhouse fan, you triggered man. Get rid of these. Get rid of all these people in here, you guys. They're not interesting or fun, and it's just a ridiculous conversation now. All right. Oh, jeez. I don't want to be more like him. I'm myself. Okay. Jesus.
Left, Nikolai has just stabbed Riley, who you heard from multiple witnesses, were just standing there. Tony comes to try to break it up. Nikolai stabs him twice. Isaac, just off frame, I submit to you, he just saw Nikolai stab those two people completely unprovoked. Although he was in the background the whole time, not doing anything, he came to their aid. And he pushes Nikolai. You can clearly see it's a push. He has one hand on the arm, other hand on the chest. It's Nikolai's own action of thrusting the knife into Isaac's heart that moves Isaac's hands. You can even see from the release, it's a push. He's not sitting there left holding his hands out in a choking motion.
That's because he was stabbed.
I'm going to show you the video so you can see it's obviously a push.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a shove. But he shoved him at the neck. Kind of a dangerous position. Here, I'm going to unblock those people. I just meant like time them out.
while my computer is loading here, even if it was a strangulation, which it clearly isn't, Isaac was justified in using any level of force. He just saw Nikolai stab 2 people who posed no threat to Nikolai. Tony was breaking up the fight. He had actually ignored Nikolai at first, walked past him, pushed Dante out of the way. Riley was just standing there. Met 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Can we have the screen? Clearly a push.
Okay, yeah, he pushed him right? In the neck.
Defense has mischaracterized the entire situation as 13 on 1, 13 on 1, implying it's some sort of mob beating up Nikolai. It's not even 13 people yelling at Nikolai. As you saw in the video, Gabby, Janelle, they're just standing.
Yeah, but who cares if it's choked or pushed in the neck? You know, that's what you guys, you're getting stuck on these little weird things. It's crazy. Who cares?
In the background, Isaac, he's just standing in the background, not yelling.
I think if somebody shoved me with an open hand like that into my neck, I might think like, oh my God, he's trying to choke me, you know, like, but he got shoved. It's so weird. Even, you know what's weird? It's mob mentality on the part of the people who think he's guilty too. It's weird. They go around in these packs of people and they've just got it all figured out. Just like the Justin Ross Harris case.
Anything. It's 13 people in the proximity, only 2 close to him, 2 tiny females.
Yeah, they make it sound like Isaac he's the one that acted like a hero trying to come in there. Really? He's one of the people that was instigating from the beginning. He walked right up to his face and was talking to him. Come on. I mean, this whole thing is a sham here. Ridiculous.
Nikolai's clearly not afraid of the boys. He ran up on the boys, turns his back on them and others multiple times. Even at worst, this is a 2-on-1 with AJ and Dante. But even then, as you saw in the video, Ariel's right there. It's more like a 2-on-2. Ariel's right there. Plus, Tony comes in as a neutral party to separate things. It's not 13 on 1. As soon as AJ gets disemboweled, you see people start to move away. So there's not even 13 people immediately around. You saw Owen way in the background because he saw the knife. So why try to mischaracterize the situation? Because there's some things that are hard to explain otherwise for defense. Turn on the screen, please. This is the second time you saw.
I don't think so. The mob of feverish, like, I don't know what you call it, but it's on that side. Usually it's the people that want to find somebody guilty. They get so angry. They get really riled up. So you might say there's a mob, but the other side's just like, yeah. But the other ones won't let it go. Won't let it go. We know he's guilty. They just keep going. You can almost see the drool coming down their mouths, hitting their shirts.
On the video that Nikolai turns his back on the boys and people from the Carlson group. You don't turn your back on somebody. It's common sense. You don't check your common sense at the door when you serve as a jury. You don't turn your back on somebody if you're afraid of them, especially if you're so afraid you got to reach for your knife. You can't be that afraid that he's got to reach for his knife and so unafraid that he turns his back on them. He was angry, not afraid. That image on the right is only less than 30 seconds after he turns his back on them, touching his knife.
And here's the thing is, yes, we know that he lied. He lies in here. He says, hey, I'm not the guy. I look like the guy. You know, he knows that he stabbed somebody. If he knew that it was videotaped, he would have said, oh, yeah, it came right forward. But let me ask you this, everybody. Lorraine, 3 boys' mom. If there was no video in this case, he would be found guilty of first-degree murder in 2 seconds. I mean, because all it would be was these kids telling a story, and he wouldn't be able to disprove them. This is what they would say. He walked over to us. He had a knife out, and he just started stabbing everybody. You know, he just started stabbing. He was a psycho. And they wouldn't be able to disprove that because there would be no video. And so he didn't even know that there was a video. You know, he's just in this. People are attacking, doing all this stuff. And then later he makes up excuses and tries to get away with it. It doesn't matter. The lie part is irrelevant once there's an actual video to show what happened. The lie is just something some people do, some people don't do it. That's all there is to it.
The defense tried to explain that change from in that 30-second window by saying he was getting pushed by Madison and Riley. He was getting pushed. They're lightly touching his arms and they're tiny.
But why are they touching him?
They're not in his face. You can see in the images, they're standing close. They're not in his face. They're not shaking their fists at him. They're not even sticking their fingers in his face.
If you look at her hand, it's actually bent, meaning she's trying to shove him. See how the fingers are bent back a little bit there? Yeah.
They're standing close to him, touching his shoulders, pointing, yelling at him to leave.
Yeah, sure, it's about character, but it has nothing to do with this case, Lorraine. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You seem to slip right over the top of that. Even if he has a shitty character, see, that's what they're trying to do here. Just like in the Justin Ross Harris case. Make him look like a shitty person, and then everybody will believe everything else that we're trying to tell you.
I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about Nikolai looking for the phone. So Eric Von Williams, from Nikolai's group, you heard testify, before any of this happened, he was concerned about Nikolai's behavior. He was concerned that people were going to think he was a predator. Ernesto told Nikolai not to go look for the phone. Others in the group told him not to. You heard they didn't care about the phone. Ariel didn't care about the phone. Nikolai went. Sandy said he went twice, was back for 5 to 10 minutes, then went again, over by the boys. Defense argued in opening that the boys' goal, their goal was to humiliate Nikolai. Clearly, he wasn't looking for little girls. But the boys are not completely unreasonable in their belief. Eric Von Williams thought the same thing. They reacted wrong, but they just didn't invent this whole thing in order.
Welcome, Lisa Wilson. All right, let's not have the lull right off the start of the show, you guys. Let's get up to where we get to the goal. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lisa Wilson. Never seen Lisa spelled that way before. Is it Lisa or? I'm not sure.
In order to humiliate Nikolai. What about Nikolai? 52 years old, apparently sober, according to, I think, what defense will argue. He didn't have any signs of intoxication when law enforcement made contact with him, but he certainly made a point of telling Lieutenant Hart multiple times how much he was boozing and drinking on the river. He can't let it go that he was insulted. So much so that as the boys are tubing away from him, all Nikolai has to do is stand there. He doesn't even have to take a step back. He just has to stand there,
Lisa.
let the boys continue tubing. They're down in their tubes. He starts walking up to them, touches his knife, and then runs up to them. You heard Nikolai's ridiculous description or explanation for why he ran up on the boys. Because one was holding a phone, he thought it was Ariel's phone. You also heard Nikolai had to concede, had to admit, that pretty much everyone on the river had those phone cases.
So what? What a stupid argument right there.
Another double standard from defense is physical attributes of those involved. They wanted to elicit evidence that Nikolai is feeble. Sandy, he wasn't feeble according to Sandy. He had a surgery a couple years ago, recovered in a few weeks. Maybe things took him.
Well, it's cool that you disagree, but it's your reasoning behind it that it is lacking.
A little long.
You sort of believe the sort of this mob mentality about, oh, look at that wild-eyed creep. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's a crazy comment there.
Longer than I did before. He wasn't feeble, according to Ernesto. You heard Ernesto, when he was being asked about the stabbing, said, he's a big guy, he was in the Army, he doesn't need a knife to defend himself. He didn't say, oh, he's this fragile old guy. He's clearly not feeble, as you see in the video. He runs up on these boys in the water. He leaves.
Hey, K Feel, I'm just as knowledgeable about politics as crime, and I think through the same things rationally. Just because you're a bleeding heart liberal, I apologize for you, but I think through the same way, I have the same rational thoughts. By the way, everybody, I don't know if anybody of you saw it, but did you see the NPR article by one of their staff members there, who actually verified all the stuff that we thought all those years? Remember that? All the stuff where they were actually told to hide. I mean, God, you guys got to see this shit. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Proved everything. Amazing. Hey, thanks, Billy Barker.
He's behind devastating injuries. Slices clean through 2 of Isaac's ribs.
Well, you wouldn't win with me on any channel, my 3 sons. Your logic and reasoning behind this is irrational. That's all I can say. You built up an emotional feeling and went with that, And there's logically watching the video, there's no way that you can't think that he's defending himself there. I mean, it's just absolutely obvious. There's no, now if you want to listen to this guy and the other guys and let them convince you and you go, yeah, ooh, God, if that was my son, I'd really want to. That's the truth. Yeah, you got too wrapped up emotionally.
He comes out of the whole event essentially uninjured. While defense tries to argue that Nikolai is this feeble old man, they ignore that the only two people actually standing close to Nikolai are these two females that are barely over 100 pounds.
No, it is irrational. It's not my opinion. It's technically
If the
irrational.
boys are a threat, why does Nikolai run up on them? And clearly he knows they're not a threat to him. When he ran up on them, grabbed their tubes, standing over them, they did nothing.
I think he is
They
irrational.
didn't kick up at him.
I think most people are wondering why the hell this case was ever brought to trial and why he had to be in jail for the entire 2 years. Ridiculous. I mean, they were so sure that now they're putting in these lesser charges because they're so certain. Yeah, what a joke.
They didn't punch at him, they jumped out of the tubes and moved away from him. He knows they're not a threat to him. They're mocking, saying cruel things, but not violent. You saw how awkward it was for Nikolai to try to explain this
There's
transition.
no bail.
From 0 fear to 10 out of 10 fear, he's got to take out his knife. Tried to explain it with what I submit to you is obviously rehearsed testimony about his scales of fear. You heard from witnesses recounting what they recall of Nikolai, the demonic look on his face, staring through people, smirking.
Demonic look on his face, staring through people, smirking. This is so ludicrous. They're trying to make him seem like this creepy creature that just happened to showed up and turned into a maniac.
Defense argued in opening it's a slide tour here there. You know, after seeing the video so many times, that's not the case. When he's not glaring, he's smirking in the video.
He's not though.
Recall, I
don't
asked
think he's
Ernesto,
creepy
his
at
best
all.
friend, when he was trying to describe the shock of Nikolai, I asked, was he smiling? He didn't say, yeah, he smiles when he's scared, he smiles when he's nervous. He said, who's going to smile in a situation where they're in shock or in fear?
You mean because he had that one sort of grin when they were calling him a pedophile?
Nikolai was angry.
Yeah,
He wasn't
I remember that.
He's smirking even as he's holding the knife.
Were you okay with that? My three
Why
sons'
didn't he just
mom.
walk away?
My 3 sons. Were you okay with with them calling him a pedophile, and then he was looking for a little girl, and all those things that they were saying, and surrounding him and jeering and cheering each other on? Were you okay with that part? I just want to make sure.
Defense had tried to argue there's rocks unstable, his sandals were bad, didn't stop him from running up to the boys as they're tubing away from him. Why didn't he just hold the knife up? Say, hey, I got a knife, back up. You saw, Owen is the only person who saw the knife and you saw his reaction. So everyone else was moving forward and responded to Nikolai punching Madison. Owen's trying to pull people back. Next you see him, he's off in the distance. This whole thing would have ended if Nikolai just held up the knife. Instead of
$2 million
opening
bond.
it
What a
down by
joke.
his waist without looking down, because it's human nature, if he would have looked down, people would have looked down. He holds it down by his waist, opens it up, never displays it, or says he has a knife.
Yeah, so the thing is, if he didn't lie, what's weird is if he didn't lie, somehow that would make him seem more believable. But even though it's on video, see, the thing is, him lying is irrelevant to the case because it's on video, you guys.
Nikolai did not act as any reasonable person would in that situation if they were truly and fair.
Thank you, Mark
with their life
Willis.
or great bodily harm. So let's talk.
Keep up the great work. Keep up the great
Here's
work.
Owen reacting as you
He
see.
handled trolls well.
Again, Isaac just standing in the background in the middle.
Yeah, like I don't think if people think that they disagree with the, like me, that they're necessarily a troll. It's just the way some people disagree. Then you know exactly what they are.
You see, when other people are moving forward, Owen's trying to pull them back. You heard him yell, bro, he's got a knife. So let's talk about the punch to Madison. I submit to you the evidence shows clearly, beyond a reasonable doubt, Nikolai punched her. She fell backwards, but caught herself. Multiple witnesses testified to seeing her falling backwards. Defense is arguing on cross, well, she's not wet, she didn't actually fall down. If witnesses are all standing in that kind of semicircle around Nikolai,
Peter.
she gets punched and falls backwards, and then their attention's back to Nikolai, because Dante's hitting him. They're not going to see that she caught herself. They're going to think she fell down.
That's your opinion, my three sons. She said, I'm a wonderful woman, mother, and wife. So now you know. Well, how do we know that? That's your opinion, okay?
Look at her position next to Riley. They're shoulder to shoulder in front of Nikolai before the camera pans away.
And generally, when somebody says that, they're not. You know what I mean? Like, who has to actually say that out loud?
When the camera pans back, now Dante's shoulder to shoulder with Riley, and Maddie is back. She clearly got knocked backwards.
Her
sunglasses aren't on her head anymore.
Now we know you're lying.
Defense has...
She said she was told every day that she's a wonderful woman, a mother, and a wife. There's no way that's true. Now we know you're lying now, my three sons. You have to be.
There's a double standard about that, too. If there's not a photo of it, it didn't happen. If there's not a photo of an injury, it didn't happen. We know Nikolai got punched. He didn't have any injury.
No, I didn't say that you're stupid and moronic. I said it's moronic, stupid and moronic, to not be able to see that he's being surrounded by people. Here's what you didn't answer my question. Were you okay with the kids surrounding him, calling him a pedophile, screaming and jeering in his face, and physically touching him? Were you okay with that part? I'm just curious. I'm sure you're a wonderful mother, etc. Okay.
So I'll turn and talk a little bit about memory, credibility. Obviously, the witness's memory is better closer to the event. That's obvious. Alcohol is going to affect memory. Traumatic events going to affect memory.
Right, but the kids are what escalated it. Why didn't they just let him be? You know, they're the ones that escalated it, not him. You know, he hadn't stabbed anybody yet, and he was punched in the face and he was shoved to the ground and slapped in the face, and then somebody else swung at him. And it was after that, all the stabs actually happened after that. Even the girl, I know where that happened now. I'll show it to you later on the video.
How fast it happens is going to affect memory.
Well, they show it here. So.
But crucially, and absolutely crucially, there's a huge difference between getting some details wrong, right hand, left hand, sequence of events.
How am I sure what, Patricia? How am I sure? Because it's on the video.
And making up an entire story like Nikolai did.
Guess what, everybody? Planes did hit the World Trade Center buildings, and they collapsed. It wasn't plasma thermite in another plane. It wasn't some organized thing. 2 planes did hit those buildings, and they collapsed. Isn't that weird? Whoa.
Defense has tried to highlight throughout the trial, Nikolai was in this traumatic experience. Give him a break. It's understandable. He made up all these lies, told this whole story. Even though he looks calm and collected in the videos, he's convincing in the videos, talking to the sheriff, talking to Lieutenant Hart. But don't give any sort of credence to the theory that trauma affects memory for anyone in the Carlson's group, any of the boys, any who were stabbed.
Oh, and a jet hit the Pentagon, too. Don't forget that.
Bleeding to death to the shore.
Oh my God, everybody.
Don't give any.
Wow, my 3 sons is amazing. Her son is now an FBI agent. Her father works at NASA. Her husband is a CIA special ops. Her other son is a... Man, here we are, everybody. We're working with the people who say stuff like, well, I was a paralegal, so therefore I know everything.
Credence that trauma might affect their memory and how accurately they can remember all the details. But Nikolai, who invented an entire story, tried to skip through the crowd. Give him credence for that. You saw what happened to all these witnesses, how fast it happened. It's not surprising, some of the details are wrong. But the major point is accurate, is consistent. This all started when Nikolai punched Madison, whether it was the right hand or left hand. You heard the turmoil of the boys when they realized Isaac is stabbed. Clearly a traumatic experience. There's a big difference between details and invention. Think about the most basic example.
I don't know if you're lying or not. I'm just saying, you just keep going overboard, my 3 sons. Nobody's questioning. I'm just saying the comments you've made about the case haven't been logical to me. All the other stuff, I'm sure you're a great mom, mother, etc., etc. I'm sure one of your kids is in the FBI, the other one's an architect, the other one's probably a doctor, the other one works at NASA, etc. I'm sure all that's true, okay? I'm just saying, I mean, none of that's relevant to anything. Nobody asked you to throw in some verification of your credentials. You know, you always get these people who come in and say stuff like that, right? So it's just, and I don't want anybody else talking about my 3 sons or anything in here. We're having a conversation back and forth. You guys don't need to pile in or say anything, you know. So that's something that didn't happen in this case right here. All the kids were just piling in, doing stuff, right? I don't know why people do that all the time. When you say, yeah, I don't agree. Well, I was a paralegal. Well, who gives a shit? You know, who cares if you're a paralegal? That doesn't make you have any better at visualizing and conceptualizing a case. You know, like I don't say like this. Well, let me tell you, you need to take some of this and that and this and that and do this and that and this if you hurt your arm. Well, how do you know, Gray? Well, my dad's a doctor. Well, are you a doctor? Oh, no, but I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, yeah.
And say your partner, go to the grocery store. Park your car, you're leaving the grocery store, you think your car's parked over there, they think it's parked over here. You still know the car's parked in the parking lot, even if you can't remember where it's.
Well, why not just say that sentence, my 3 sons? Why not just say, Isaac never had a chance in life? Instead, you threw out all the credentials of your family as if that had something to do with the rest of that sentence. It doesn't, right? So that's what I'm trying to say is like, what does that have to do with the whole Isaac not getting a chance? Who knows what Isaac would have been? You know, you don't have any idea what he could have been or what he was going to be or anything.
Parked. The same is true for the punch to Madison.
And, you know, it's... The reality is this. These kids were drunk. They started jeering, chanting, and piling on and calling this guy a pedophile and circling him and ridiculing him and going all around him. And then eventually he might have shoved somebody away. Then they shoved him to the ground, smashed him in the face. They were attacking him, and he pulled out a knife. He already had the knife out right before that, though, because he knew that these people were circling him. And he gets knocked to the ground, smashed in the face, and that's it. I mean, he's defending himself. He never went towards anybody, despite what the prosecution's trying to sell you here. He's standing still, and everybody lunges at him when he just jabs out. He doesn't look like a maniac with a knife, right? Does anybody see that part? That he's a maniac, like he's just chasing down people? And the answer is no.
You heard from 10 people, both from the Carlson group and the boys.
I do know how it happened, Gina.
Nikolai
Sorry for your confusion.
Madison.
There was 2 girls right next to him. He had his knife out already. He shoved the girl, and then somebody shoved him to the ground. Then they smashed him in the face. He hadn't stabbed anybody yet. Oh, Jesus. I don't care.
So let's talk a little bit about witness.
I don't need to watch the testimonies, okay? It's the video. It's right there. You don't need to listen to the lying kids. Every one of them lied up there.
This is from Nikolai's group. Ariel, what did he say? At trial, he says Nick defended himself. Can't really say how. Never said that when interviewed with law enforcement. He denied even being close to Nikolai. Remember, Ariel was there when he stabbed Dante. He was right there when Nikolai stabbed Riley, Tony, and Isaac. Law enforcement went there with the frame
of
Ariel standing next to Nikolai when Nikolai has the bloody knife. Ariel denies seeing anything to law enforcement of what Nikolai did.
We'll go back to that in a second. Look I'm going to show you guys this right here. Watch. Let's just go from here. Doesn't even matter. Oh crap, this is my version. But anyways, let's see, it's about right. So right in about here is he's got the knife out, right in this area. And you can still see Schumann in the background in these pictures. See? He shoved somebody right now and he got shoved to the ground. He hasn't stabbed a soul yet. Nobody's been stabbed yet. Then boom, they slap him in the face. And now this is the first person. There's a stab right there. One. And now he just stabbed the guy with the blue shorts on. And that stab right there is what killed Isaac. And then just before that, though, they're hitting a woman. Watch this. He actually stabs the girl right here. Watch this. Apparently right now he's stabbing the girl. And then look, he turns around and see he had just stabbed the girl in the side because right before that she was fine. So right then he did that. Then and then she's holding her side right there. And then 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I mean there's a fifth person as well. So maybe I don't know. The defense says that nobody had been stabbed until after he was on the ground, and I don't see it either. I mean, you see him, he gets shoved on the ground. What do you guys think there? I don't know. I can't. Right here he stabbed at least 3 guys, or at least 2 guys, the guy with the jeans and then also Isaac, and then her, because she came in from behind. He probably wasn't really paying attention. Ugh. Anyways, back to this.
Ernesto, at trial, testified he didn't see Nikolai get hit, just saw him down in the water. Said he couldn't remember Nikolai saying, "They took my knife." You saw on the body cam, he said that repeatedly. He testified that somebody was walking towards him, he pointed at him, "Get back." Never said that to law enforcement, although he did describe to law enforcement, as you saw, him saying, "Nikolai, get out," Nikolai walking out, and then he said, and that's it. Never said anything about anyone pointing at him and walking towards him. When I asked, he said, I wasn't asked that question, but he described.
You know what's weird about this whole thing is how casual it all is, you know? Just sort of like they were attacking him, but he was just standing there and he was just sort of like jabbing, you know? I mean, it was weird. It wasn't like a frenzied attack or anything, so it kind of makes you just realize how fragile life is just in general, you know, just a little thing here and there. Like Isaac's death was just like a quick jab, and it went right through the ribs and then hit him. Like he had the knife, you know, so the knife sideways, and it went through the in between 2 ribs and hit his heart, just in that little quick jab.
That event. Crazy. He also wasn't asked more than 10 times if Nikolai said they took my knife.
Yeah, that's what I said, Terry. That's what I said. But nobody, that one lady didn't believe me up there.
About the punch to Madison again. Sergio, he's in Nikolai's group. He had walked out a little ways. You can see him in the photo on the left in the top right.
Yeah, I do know that I heard that he went out there, he was there, and then he went back, and then went back again.
He had the white shirt, white bucket hat. He testified he saw the blonde girl in the black leotard walk over to Nikolai and say, "Go, go, go." He said it repeatedly to law enforcement. And he said Nikolai pushed her. So this is what it would have looked like from his perspective, although a lot farther back in that photo on the right. How could he have seen Nikolai do anything to Madison unless she got pushed back, punched back, something violent, not some light push? He's not going to see that from where he was. Madison testified, and you saw in the video, after she was hit, she goes back to her group. Why would she walk away back to her group if Nikolai just lightly maybe touched her, maybe didn't? She told Quentin she was punched.
Yeah, it does seem fueled by alcohol. And that's what happens. You get like a pack of young men and they're drinking. Yeah, they'll just pick on somebody and just go off like that. You know what this reminds me? You guys remember when I went to Idaho, the guy that jumped out of his apartment? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what people have. That's why I in my instance, I wasn't the aggressor or anything like that. But I walked away. See how that guy was way different than him, wouldn't you say? Remember in Idaho when I filmed the surveillance camera and the guy jumped out and he just kept trying to come at me and grab my camera and everything like that? That's the exact opposite of the way that Nikolai was. And in my instance, like, he was after me and I just sort of walked away, you know. And he and then he got in a car and chased me down the road. I mean, it was crazy shit. That guy was way worse, you know, way worse.
She told police at the scene she was punched. She told police in the interview she was punched. She testified about feeling the throbbing pain in her cheek, her heartbeat in her cheek. Mandy testified,
I guess
she was
you
told by
don't.
law enforcement, sheriff's office, they didn't need the photo. You heard about that misunderstanding. She had anxiety about deleting the photo. In an effort to console her, she was told, don't worry about it. This is an important jury instruction in your jury instructions. Although we're not a stand your ground state, there's also not a duty to retreat. But in determining whether Nikolai's actions, whether his use of force was reasonable to prevent or terminate the interference, you may consider whether he had the opportunity to retreat with safety, whether such retreat was feasible, and whether he knew of the opportunity. He turned his back on them multiple times facing open water. People were yelling at him to leave, to walk away, to go. And he didn't. Instead, he took out his knife. That is not reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, what if that guy had a knife that came out of that apartment at me? You know, that's when it would be a little bit different, you know, like what my response might be. I mean, it's just kind of weird. Man, it's crazy.
You heard from Sheena Lowell, Janelle Duxbury, Ghazi Khazri and Nazimpour, Dante Carlson, and AJ about the strike.
I can't see
Madison.
Danny
You heard from the
ICUR.
boys, Ryan Nelson, Juwan Cockfield, Landon Wire, and Alex Bain. Alex Bain originally described it as a slap. You heard from Owen that he
Oh, there she is.
heard an impact and saw Madison fall back and catch herself. Defense has to argue that they're all either lying or mistaken. All these witnesses, including Sergio.
Well, how would he call 911? He's in the middle of a river. He doesn't have a phone with him.
If they're lying, why would Quentin say I saw some swelling and some slight redness but didn't see the punch? Why wouldn't he just say, yeah, I saw the punch too? Why wouldn't Tony say he saw the punch? Why wouldn't Tony say he saw Riley get stabbed and she's just standing there? They tried to explain what happened as best they could remember. The punch isn't on video, but you see the reaction. You hear Dante yell, you can't hit a woman before Riley is...
Hey, Danny ICURN, you're not making any sense, and I've seen your comments like for 2 days in a row on the same thing. They don't make any sense. You're almost like, I mean, so it was okay to stab people if they got too close, like a rabid animal? That's just such a ridiculous reply. It's embarrassing. It's just not even close to reality of any kind right there. It's weird.
Stabbed. They obviously didn't plan this lie in the chaos of the moment, so the only thing defense can argue is they're mistaken. That all these people...
Yeah, nobody said it's okay to stab somebody. Like, oh yeah, it's okay to stab. You know, like that, like in general, right? But, you know, he was if you consider self-defense here, he's surrounded by people who are surrounding him, yelling, screaming, pushing, shoving, hit him in the face on the ground, and then he finally used the knife. He hadn't used it prior to that.
Standing around Nikolai in that half-circle, proximate shape. They're all looking in that direction, including Sergio, including Sheena, who was by the group, the tubes for the Carlson group. They all were wrong in what they saw. Another defense double standard, it's relatively minor, but I submit to you it shows that they're grasping at straws, is this trying to put Nikolai's group in a different category. There's the drunks on the Apple River, then there's Nikolai's group. About half of you raise your hand that you've been on the Apple River. That's what people do on the Apple River. They go, they tube, and they drink. Nikolai's in the exact same boat they were in. He wasn't bird watching and this group of drunk teenagers ran up on him. He knew what it's about. He'd been on the river before. Another thing about the punch to Madison, you heard that they didn't get to see the video before giving their statements. Even Jawan, who took the video, said he got far enough to get the screenshot of Nikolai, and then law enforcement took his phone. He didn't get to see the video. You saw what happens in this case if somebody lies about something that happened on video.
18 to
Nikolai
20
got burned by that.
something.
He made up complete and total lies. The video showed he wasn't telling the truth. The video happens to not show the punch, but it still corroborates what all those witnesses said. So, count 6 is battery to Madison Cohen. It has 4 elements. Nikolai caused the battery to Maddie.
Well, no, he pulled out the... See, here's what somebody just typed in. Pulling out the knife when he did was the intent to do harm. I could say pulling out the knife when he did was his realization that self-defense might be required. It's the same damn thing, right?
It caused the injury, the harm, the pain. She testified to that. He intended to cause the harm, despite his denial. I submit to you that's clear. You don't punch somebody without intending to cause harm. She didn't consent. She testified to that. He knew she didn't consent. She's a stranger. Obviously, she didn't consent. He knew that. Punching Madison was not self-defense.
I think affluenza might be an issue here.
Again, there's no duty to retreat, but you have to consider the opportunity to retreat, the knowledge of the
Thanks,
opportunity
Cindy
to retreat,
J.
whether the use of force was
Nobody
necessary
else saw my
in
comment.
preventing the unlawful or the interference in Nikolai's person. So what is the interference at the time he punches Madison? The boys are saying cruel things to him. Maddie and Riley are standing in front of him, lightly touching his
I
shoulders.
think it'll be like 50%.
People are pointing and laughing, the boys. They're not, Maddie and Riley aren't in his face. They're standing close, but they're not in his face. What amount of force was necessary to prevent that interference? People yelling at him, Maddie and Riley standing close. What amount of force was necessary? Absolutely zero. Just walk away. That's what people are yelling at him to do, just walk away. Instead, he takes out his knife and punches Madison. Regardless of whether you were convinced beyond a reasonable doubt it was a punch, Nikolai essentially admitted to pushing her. Sergio said it was a push, although when asked, he couldn't remember if it was a push or a punch. There's still provocation.
Yeah, Jessica Hood said, "Can we stop defending the Hold on, let me do it.
Can we stop defending the behavior of the stress?
Gosh, shut up, Mary Lou. Can we stop defending the behavior of disrespectful, drunk mob-like people? I'm so annoyed that no one respects our elders anymore." Also, how about just the rule of law? You know, it's just, yeah, I mean, we just have such a degraded, kids have done this kind of stuff for a long time, but our society is degraded into a lawless pack of dog crap. And that's really, law and order is the key to a civilized society. Isn't that weird?
Your jury instructions talk about provocation.
And thank you. And thank you, Miss Skiss.
And how that affects self-defense.
Oh, you moved. All right. I
Person may not
awesome.
use or threaten force intended or likely to cause death unless he or she reasonably believes he or she has exhausted every other reasonable means to escape or otherwise avoid death or great bodily harm. Remember, Nikolai ran up on these boys who were tubing away. They didn't run up on him. He ran up on them as they're tubing away from him because they insulted him. He was angry. He didn't walk away from the boys to leave the situation. He went over to Maddie, who was yelling at him to leave, and he lies to her and says, "They took my snorkel." I'm going to play that for you so you can hear it.
Well, that's cool that you guys went together, Cindy. Look at that. Freak connector. Freak connector. And I'm always going to be a... Yeah, isn't that awesome, you guys? Come on. Look at that. Cindy and Daphne are buddies because of here. Adniram met a Broken Scout. I mean, she watched the show and then got him to start watching it. And, you know, so it was sort of like a... something as a love connection. I should have a dating show, right? And you can mod it, Three Boys Mom.
All right, this is at 105 in the video. I'm ready.
Go to the kids, go! Go! Go to the kids, go! Go! Go to the kids, go! Go! It doesn't matter.
You can take it down.
And those ladies didn't
He didn't
help
go
at all.
over there
with
to
that
extricate himself from the
screaming
situation. He
voice.
went over there and accused the boys of taking a snorkel.
What are you checking? What are you checking?
He had just ran up on the boys.
Or my three
So,
sons, I mean, not Three
after
Boys Mom.
he runs up on the boys as they're
We have a Three Boys Mom on here too, and now there's my three sons. Okay, I don't know if you're the same person or whatever. But.
chipping away. He goes and tells Maddie they took my snorkel. He's standing there smirking at people, takes out his knife, either punches or pushes Maddie. That's provocation. Defense has zero reasonable argument. Especially
you didn't write that very
Tony,
well,
Riley,
Sydney.
Isaac, and Dante.
Sydney. Jeez.
Nikolai gets punched. He gets struck with an open hand twice. He gets ineffectually pushed by AJ. Doesn't do anything. Nikolai pops right up and disembowels AJ. After Nikolai goes down in the water, nobody approaches him. Nobody. Nobody goes to kick him. Nobody goes to punch him. Nobody goes to push him again. Tony, with Nikolai down on the ground, Tony walks by Nikolai with his back to Nikolai, yelling.
And Nikolai didn't stab him either. Nikolai didn't stab Tony when he had his back to him, did he? He didn't do a damn thing. But then he turned around and came back towards him.
And get back to Dante. He turns around to tell Nikolai to get away. Nikolai turns around and stabs him. Nikolai was facing his group with an open path of escape.
This guy's a liar here. He turned around to tell him to get away. Shit, bullshit. He put his hands on him and everything.
After provoking a reaction. He just stabbed Riley before stabbing Tony. After stabbing those two, he stabs Isaac. After that, after Ariel's there, he walks over to Dante, stabs Dante in the chest, right below his ribs, right below his heart. So self-defense. I submit to you, the state has proven beyond reasonable doubt this was not justified self-defense, and Nikolai knew it.
See, I told you,
he
my
knew
three
it from the moment
sons.
he did it. First of all, imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. He's not in an alley with no way out, with people blocking his exit. He's on an open river, 150 feet wide, people yelling at him to get away. None of them are armed. Punch, 2 open hand strikes, ineffectual push. Look at the definition of great bodily harm, whether he reasonably believed death or great bodily harm is imminent. For attempted first-degree homicide for Dante, AJ, Tony, and Riley, the state has to prove that he intended to kill each of them, and the acts demonstrate unequivocally, under all circumstances, that he had formed the intent and would have caused the death of each of them, except for the intervention of some other person and an extraneous factor. Third, the defendant not actually believed that the force used was necessary to prevent death, imminent death, or great bodily harm. So, for the intent to kill, but for outside circumstances. AJ is beyond clear. He would have died but for the blood in the helicopter. He would have died, but not for the surgery doctor.
Let me ask you something. Would he have more credibility if he sounded more like, let's see, if he was more like this?
He is lucky, extremely lucky to be alive. What else was Nikolai's intent but to kill him when he slept?
Would that be better? I just tried to find the pitch that sounded more like him. All right, just a second.
Slices him up like that. He had the knife blade up. That wasn't an accident. He did not know. The first thing he does with it is slice up AJ's stomach. Riley, he slashes across the ribs. You saw the horrific nature of those wounds. He cut into her stomach, cut into her diaphragm. Luckily, didn't hit any major arteries or her heart or lung. Tony blocked one stab, so Nikolai stabbed him again. The one he blocked, you saw the injury, was very close to where AJ's artery was severed. Dante was stabbed again, just below his heart. But for Nikolai missing vital organs, but for medical intervention. Neil claimed he had tunnel vision. Oh, sorry, back up. So Dr. Meyer also testified, you heard about anytime there's a puncture wound to the torso and stomach.
Let's do it. Let's do it the other way. Hold on a second.
They have to go in because there's so many major veins, arteries, organs. They have to go in to make sure something
Major isn't done.
Nikolai killed Isaac, almost killed AJ. Riley needed emergency surgery.
Luckily, but for dumb luck, he missed the vital organs of Dante. But for AJ blocking one strike and missing vital organs.
Yeah, so what you have to do is listen to what they sound like. I mean, there's probably some ratios out there, but I've made it 130% speed, so I made it way faster. Like, this is way faster than the normal. I have it down to 130, or 1 hour and 37 minutes, and it was 2 hours and 5 minutes, just by speeding it up and then I have to change the pitch back to their normal voice. I'm sure there's some math out there that can tell you, yeah, you got to do it like that. So, you know, this is way faster than how they talk. It doesn't seem like it, though, does it?
He survived.
Seems kind of.
Nikolai said he had tunnel vision.
Seems kind of normalish. It just shows you we could get a lot more
I thought
information.
everyone close to me was attacking me. I thought anyone touched me was attacking me.
Now, how many likes? Oh, Jesus. You guys got to be kidding me. Hit that like button, you guys. We're not moving on until we get to at least 250. Hit that like button, hit that like button, 10, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Hit that like button, 50. Here, 50, 60, do I hear 75, 75, 80, do I hear 90, do I hear 110, 120, 130. Hit that like button. Wow, what a joke. 150 likes. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Only 150 likes. What a joke. What an embarrassment. Hit that damn like button. It's the easiest damn thing in the world. Even you. 3 moms, boys, or whatever the hell it is. My 3 sons. Hit that button, my 3 sons. Hit that button, hit that button. Hit that like button, hit that like button. 10, 20, 25, 30. Use your nose, use your toes, do whatever it takes. Just hit the damn like button. It's the easiest thing in the world. If you have to use your heel, do that, do that, do that. Hit the like button, use your dog, use your cat, whatever it takes. Yeah, we're not moving on until we get to at least 200. All right, and we're only at 186. If you can't take the time to hit the like button, we're gonna quit the show. It's the easiest damn thing to do in the world. And yet people are too damn lazy, too selfish, too greedy to hit that like button. Just do something for the damn channel. Okay, thank you very much. We're at 190. Hit the damn like button. Hit the like button, hit the like button. 10, 20, 25, 30. Hit that like button. 40. Do I hear 50? Do I hear 60, 75, 80? Hit that like button. We're at 193. We're going to need more than that. 195, 195. Hit that like button, hit that like button. 40, 195 isn't going to do it. 195 just isn't going to do it. We're at 197. We're at 199. We need one more. One more. We can keep going. Okay.
He didn't stab Ariel, and Ariel came up. Makes the tunnel vision claim a little bit unconvincing. For first degree intentional homicide of Isaac Schumann, Nikolai stabbed him so hard he cut clean through 2 ribs.
He didn't stab him hard.
The wound was deeper than it was wide.
He didn't cut through ribs.
Sliced Isaac's heart.
He didn't cut through ribs. He went between the ribs. There's no way in hell it'd break through a rib.
There's no other intent when you stab somebody directly in the heart than to kill. An intent to kill doesn't need to be planned ahead of time. Your jury instructions talk about that. It doesn't have to be formed a week, a month, a day, even a minute in advance. As long as he had that intent when he does the act, that's intentional homicide. The first element is he caused Isaac's death. That's obvious. Acted with intent to kill. I've addressed that. Did not actually believe the force was necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm.
Welcome, Uncle Rico's camper.
Third element, he did not reasonably believe the force was necessary.
Wait, how did you get a membership there? My 3 sons? How'd that happen? I didn't even see it. Didn't say. It didn't mention your name. It didn't say you were gifted one. It didn't say anything.
Also
but welcome anyways. You know?
Sure, that's part of the third element. So how do we know
you survived the gauntlet?
What Nikolai believed, what a reasonable person would believe. That
no, it went away. It went away.
Who experienced what Nikolai experienced?
Wait, who was
saw
that
what he
one?
saw, was standing in his place. And what did Nikolai?
So weird.
He believed it was unjustified. The
wait
very
a
first thing he
minute.
does.
Wait a minute. We have my 3 sons. Wait, there can't be 2 my 3 sons in here. There is though. Look at that. There's another person. Let's see, hold on. I just saw it. Yeah, my 3 sons. Look at that. Oh my God, I did it. I did it. It says right up there. Look at my capital MY and 3 sons, and then hers is the little s on sons. Isn't that weird? Jesus. Hey, welcome, Jessica Hood, and thank you, Revengeance. This is narco-fascism. The criminals can run freely while the law abides. Yeah, that's what that's what's going on in New York. They let everybody out. I thought my 3 sons actually joined the channel. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But there's another person with that same name?
He's walk away. Doesn't run. Doesn't tell Ariel or Ernesto anything. Doesn't tell them to run. He walks away from his group to the other side of the river. At some point rinses the knife because it wasn't covered in blood. Throws the knife onto the bank before walking back to his group. Says nothing to his group other than they took my knife. Puts on his hat, sunglasses, and shirt, and sits down in his tube. He's the one, as he said in his interview, who says, let's go, let's get out of here. They can't right away because Eric isn't there.
Look, right there on the
screen. And as they're
here, look on the screen right there. See, there it is. My three sons. They've been around.
tubing down the river, you saw the video of him casually paddling along. You saw, so plan one, get away. Slink away with the crowd. That didn't work. Plan two, play dumb.
It's right there on the screen, look.
Camera recording started.
Oh yeah, so this is where I think they ask him questions. He's like, wow, I heard you guys arrested. You know, he's lying. We already know this part.
Still doing all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's going
Temperature?
on?
Temperature's okay in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody, I hear somebody got stabbed. And I fit the description.
Yes, you do.
All right.
Yep, so we're working through that now. Did you see that fight on the river?
I heard about it.
You heard about it?
Yeah, and I seen people gather around it.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
he's just lying his ass off.
To see if somebody saw anything, but that's about it.
Okay.
Our whole group was pretty.
I have it on the screen.
Okay.
And that's your whole group over there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know. Okay, well.
Did you see anybody injured?
No.
You didn't see anybody injured?
I don't know.
Did you see anybody fighting?
I heard people screaming at each other, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Screaming in anger or screaming in pain, do you know?
Everybody's drunk, so I don't know. I can't tell the difference, but I would say, I don't know, just screaming.
Okay.
You know, calling each other names. But, you know, that's, I've seen that all day. And we've all been drinking a lot. I'm sure they're drunk. I'm sure they're doing, I don't know, kids being kids.
Kids being kids. Where are you? Where's your group from? Where did you drive from today?
Hey, Gina BG, can I ask you a question? Because you seem so convinced. He was really fearing for his life. What a liar! Let me ask you something. Do you think the kids were in fear? At the, you know, when at the very, even actually right up until the end, were they fearful of him at all? And the answer is no. But they lied about that. They said, "Oh, we were scared of him. We were scared of him." They were laughing and heckling. Do you have the same criticism towards them for what they said? Just be intellectually honest, okay? Do you have the same criticism towards them when they said that? Okay, I just want to make sure that you can be fair. No, hey, Gina BG, you're not listening, okay? You got one more shot here, or we get timed out. Was it intellectually, be intellectually honest, was it when the kids said that they were scared when they were walking around and, oh my God, when he was there, they scared him. They were really scared of him. Is that true? And the answer is no. They were laughing, jeering, etc.
Sure, they're drunk, kids being kids. That's what he told Sheriff Hughes, and he's acting like he has no idea what's going on. Clearly not in shock. Let me take it down a second. Clearly not in shock. Clearly Nikolai knows that was not justified, and he's looking out for Nikolai. Slinking away didn't work. Playing dumb didn't work. He's told he's under arrest for homicide. Plan 3. Completely lie about what happened as to justify him using lethal force. The boys pulled out the knives. They twisted their arm, poked him. That's what he used, poke, with their own knife. So first-degree intentional homicide and second-degree intentional homicide are very similar.
Wait, why did we have all these different names? Are these even real people? Why did somebody type in my son 3? Who's this person? Is that a troll? Can you guys look that person up? As a the other one's got they've got a membership, so I don't know if they and a face. But the one that says my son 3, who's that? Can you check the date on that account? Yeah, I shouldn't have to be doing this. Doesn't seem like we have a lot of mods around tonight. So if you could look at that, check that out.
For first degree, this did actually,
get rid of that
actually
one, Paulette.
believe.
Delete that. Hide that person.
Justified. For second degree, it's the reasonable person standard. I submit to you, it doesn't make a difference in this case. It's crystal clear. He knew he wasn't justified. He knew he wasn't justified. It's crystal clear from his actions after the fact. Can't be explained away by shock. He's clearly not in shock. The use of force on AJ, stabbing Riley just standing there, stabbing Tony trying to break it up, stabbing Isaac directly in the heart. Ariel's there, walking up to Dante and stabbing him. The injuries he left behind, that all shows his intent.
Okay. Whatever. Anyways, let's do the, looks like it's Eddie, is it ED birthday today? Like AD? I don't know what that means. Like AD maybe? That's what I'll have to go with. I can't pronounce it, so. You got to sing happy birthday, Mary Lou.
Who the hell is that?
I don't know. Somebody that people are saying happy birthday to.
Okay. How do you say it?
I think it's like 80. You know, like 80.
Yeah, I know what 80 means, Greg. Jesus.
Yeah, I was just trying to help you out. All right, do it.
Happy birthday to 80. Happy birthday to 80. Happy birthday to 80. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
God, that was terrible. What's wrong with you, Mary Lou?
Well, I smoked some cigarettes earlier with Retsin.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good for you. All right.
Again, you have to consider whether he knew he could retreat, whether there was a safe escape. He could have just walked away. He could have just raised his knife.
Yeah, he could have done all kinds of things, but he's not required
with
to.
the knife until he punched Madison. He touched it.
Let me ask you something. Does anybody know what's the requisite number of blows you have to take to your face before you actually start stabbing people, like to defend yourself? Does anybody know what that is? Like, should he have put the knife back in his pocket, let them pummel him over and over again, and then at a certain point go, okay, I'll pull it out now, because I don't want to get in trouble by these judgmental wackos who say, wow, he should have done this, he should have done that. All right, so let's see what we got up here. So we got, the end of the poll was, is this self-defense 80% yes, 20% no? Well, 79 is 21, okay. So we're ending that one. Now we're going to do another poll here. This one is, will he be found guilty of any of the charges? Now that one should be definitely, like, I could see that being 50-50 or even worse. I think they'll find him guilty of the something else lower if they have to find something. But it seems like if you're not guilty of first-degree murder, how do you drop down to one of the other ones? When that means it's self-defense if it's not first-degree murder. So how do you get the other lesser charges? I don't get that.
His knife when running up on the before running up on the boys. He takes out the knife, opens the blade up, never says anything, never walks away, never takes a step back, never raises the knife, never yells for help. He's smirking with the knife in his hand. Finally, after stabbing 5 people, then he walks away. Doesn't run, walks. It's shocking to see what Nikolai did in this case.
No, he didn't get rude with anybody. He was just walking around. And they started jeering and chanting that he's looking for little girls and basically calling him a pedophile, and just they were just drunk idiots. I mean, literally. It's
to see the injuries and then see his calm, cool demeanor after the fact, tubing down the river, sitting in his tube at the scene of chaos.
And so I've actually had a brother die in real life, so I understand the pain that the family's going through. But you know, I tell you what, if it was my brother that was in there doing all that stuff and I saw the video, I'd still want the guy to go to prison. But that doesn't mean I'm thinking rationally. That's when you're just sort of like, you want him to be punished because he hurt somebody that you really cared about. So you should be able to step back from that and think through cases. Try not to, like, I mean, so that's what I do, obviously, right? Like, couldn't I sit here and be going, oh, wow, man, that guy, yeah, he should be toast because I had a brother die. Man, that's bull crap. I know what it feels like. Because that stuff's irrelevant. How I feel and things. It doesn't mean anything. The video in this case is all that matters. The lying, all the other stuff, absolutely irrelevant to the case. Might show that his character isn't the greatest for lying, but it doesn't matter, right? I mean, because what happened is what happened in the video.
Casually talking to Sheriff Madison, making up this huge lie to Lieutenant Hart.
Yeah, now look at the difference up there.
He even lied to the
Look at the numbers up there. Like 68% said yes, he'll be charged with something, even though it was 79% said it was self-defense. See, that just shows you our lack of faith in people making the right decisions.
Partners at 9 p.m., so 5 hours after the incident, about the boy pulling a knife, twisting his arm.
And I even think it's a yes there.
Even lied to Sandy after the arrest. Nick recognizes that what happened is not justified self-defense. Just standing there with the knife, not walking away when you clearly can.
I mean, voluntary manslaughter, sure. But what's the requisite of that one? Like, he voluntarily took somebody's life. But what's the sort of wording behind that?
So even to Sandy, after he's charged, he casts blame on her and the group for not hearing him yelling. He never yelled. Normally, it'd be difficult to know what a defendant believed in a self-defense case. Not in this case. Nikolai was not in fear. He snapped. He was angry, and he snapped. And he knew it. His actions show he knew. He did not reasonably believe the amount of force was necessary. He was not actually in fear. If he was actually in fear, he would have left.
See, that's what's weird about these guys. They think that the criminal, or that, you know, they believe is a criminal, is supposed to have the whole law and legal, everything in their head, right? He didn't think, oh my God, I got angry and I snapped. He was just like, man, I stabbed some people. And I don't want to, man, what do I do? That's what he was thinking in his head. And he might have thought, wow, there's no proof of anything. I got to try to hide. Because, he didn't know that it was on video. If they'd said, hey, it's on video right out the get-go, he probably would have said, oh, okay, yeah, it was.
How else? Do you know what other clues?
I'm not a fan of this judge either.
testimony?
He's very biased in his rulings.
We submit to you that this is first-degree intentional homicide and first-degree attempted homicide. His acts clearly show intent. But if you can't agree unanimously on that, as your jury instructions tell you, you have to consider second degree. Again, the difference in second degree is Nikolai's belief versus reasonable person. Here you know, I submit to you his belief from his own conduct. Afterwards, he knew it was not justified. If you can't agree on second degree, you consider first degree reckless homicide, first degree reckless endanger of safety. Element 1, Nikolai endangered the safety of another human being. That's obvious. Endangered the safety of another by criminally reckless conduct. Your jury instructions define criminally reckless conduct. Creating a risk of death or great bodily harm. It's unreasonable and substantial. He was aware of the risk. Again, obvious. When he's stabbing people. When you talk about reckless conduct, let's say you believe his testimony that he just thought anyone touching him, anyone close to him was attacking him and stabbing him. That's reckless. That's criminally reckless conduct. That's utter disregard for human life. What other clues are there to utter disregard? He just walks away. He just walks away. He doesn't call 911. He just sits on his tube as other people are helping the victims, and he tubes down the river. Your jury instructions talk about the question, the special question, yes or no. Did he commit these crimes while possessing a dangerous weapon, the pocket knife? There's nothing inherently wrong with carrying a pocket knife. A lot of people carry pocket knives. Totally fine to carry it as a tool, totally fine to carry it for self-defense, totally fine to carry any legal weapon, firearm, knife, if it's used legally. Nikolai he was not justified in self-defense when he attacked these people. So we'd ask that you answer yes on that question. In the end, what is beyond clear, Nikolai knew this was not self-defense. All of his actions, from the minute the stabbings are done, from the second the stabbings are done, he knew it. It's obvious. His actions were horrific. They were senseless. He killed Isaac Schumann, stabbed him directly in the heart, disemboweled AJ, stabbed Tony who's trying to break up a fight, Riley who's just standing there, and then walks up to Dante. That walking up to Dante, stabbing him when he's got clear path to retreat, that destroys any argument that this was self-defense. He was angry. There's no rational reason Nikolai, his group's over here, would walk this way towards the group of people to stab Dante. Senseless and horrific acts. The state asked you to find Nikolai.
No lulls, everybody, no lulls.
Thank you.
Right, we are back in the presence of the jury with the attorneys and Mr. Mew. Mr. Truffesy.
May it please the court, counsel. So, ladies and gentlemen, in his opening statement, Attorney Nelson said to you, one of the things you're going to have to determine is what happened on July 30th, 2022. Well, what happened on July 30th, 2022 is a group of drunk teenagers led by the ringleader, Juwan Cockfield, saw an opportunity to torment a man who was by himself. They taunted him. They called him names like raper and pedophile and predator. They did this for no legitimate purpose. When they did this, they're yelling and carrying on. It attracted the attention of another group, right? Led by Madison Cohen and Dante Carlson.
All right, I'm going to do my public service announcement for the night. If you guys like to help support the channel, it helps me, it allows me to keep doing the shows every single day. But one of the biggest part that I appreciate is that we're able to give a lot of the income that I make on the channel. It usually comes out to about 33% of the entire gross income. You know, I still have to pay taxes and all that. So if you guys can help support the channel, that'd be great. We didn't reach the goal on the first show. That was 3 hours long, and we're not at the goal on this show, which is already 1 hour and 30 minutes in. So it'd be cool to reach the goal on one of the shows, all right? So we got another about 109 to go. And then if we get there, I'll give away 5 memberships again, all right? Can we do that in the next hour and a half? I think we can. I think we can. So please consider supporting the channel.
6 drunk teenagers quickly turned into 13. 13 against 1. They got in his face. They screamed at him. They called him names. They swore at him. They put their hands on him. And the group of 6, they became brave. The group of 6 became brave to the point that they circle him and start taunting him. They do this to a man who has done nothing, absolutely nothing to them. Then, when that man, Mr. Mew, tries to create some space between him and Madison Cohen, they pounce. They punch him. They push him. They slap him. They hit him again. They choke him from all directions. And Nick Mew acts in self-defense. That's what happened on July 30th, 2022. I just want to give you guys a little bit of an indication as to kind of where I'm going to go, and more importantly, what I think you need to think about when you are back there thinking about the evidence, okay? First is the law. 1, there is no duty to retreat, period. That is the only requirement. In this state, bullies like Madison Cohen don't get to tell us where to go. Bullies like Madison Cohen don't get to get in our face and require that we leave. That's not a requirement here. Keep that in mind. 2, subjective beliefs, okay? When you're listening to the, or
he doesn't have
contemplating the evidence and
he doesn't have
replaying
to
it in your
retreat.
mind, you are to do that and consider the beliefs, not the actions, but the beliefs.
Thanks, Linda Howe.
Of Mr. Mew. And when you do that, you are to do that from his perspective. At the the time that the events were occurring. So while we have a video, that video is from the perspective of Joanne Packfield. The video perspective that the jury is required to consider it is as Nick Mew is holding the camera. I'm going to address this a little bit later, but the idea of provocation. Whether or not Nick intentionally caused harm to Madison Cohen. That is something that you should consider when you're considering provocation. And the other main one I want to talk about is what it means, because it's different here, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Very kind.
So normally, beyond a reasonable doubt is this hurdle, and the state has to jump that hurdle in order to prove a case. It's a little bit different here, okay? Because in this case, self-defense has been alleged. Remember when you're back there, Nick Mew doesn't have to prove he acted in self-defense. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he didn't act in self-defense. They have to prove that his beliefs were unreasonable. Okay? So,
well, 52 wasn't old, but you're definitely not a, spring chicken where you're, just really young and wiry. He just had his heart surgery in 2020. He's not like, to me it's just like he got lucky as hell. I mean, bad luck in reality, but like just those crazy, just little jabs all made it in there. He's not like a professional knife person or anything. Let's see. Hey, thank you, Uncle Rico's Camper. Love these late night streams and your opinions. Thank you. And Daphne adding to the wave. Yeah, over there at John Mellencamp's concert.
The way that I look at this video, the main video of Joanne Cockfield, we've all seen the 9-second video where he's screaming at Mr. Mew, calling him a raper. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the video that you've seen probably more than you want to. But I'm breaking that up into really 3 parts, okay? 0 to 149 is the first part. Right? Before anything actually happens in terms of the attack. And what is in dispute in that first minute?
Thank you, Jessica Miller and Peeps.
I think 2 things were raised in the case that were in dispute. And that is, first, whether or not these drunk teens were actually afraid of Mr. Mew. Right? I think to a person, they testified, yeah, we were really concerned about Mr. Mew. And you get to use your...
Uncle Rico's Camper said, love these late night streams and your opinions. And Daphne adding to the waves and pancakes. All right.
Your everyday experiences in life when you decide what to believe. Does that look to you like teenagers who are afraid of that person? Is that what that looks like to you? Does this photo of drunk teenagers taunting him, does that make you believe in your experiences in life that they're afraid of him?
Yeah. See,
or is this what drunk teenagers who are terrified, is that what they look like?
Yeah. So that's just such a great presentation because, yeah, they were saying, oh, they were scared. They were scared of it. Look at these guys. They're just jeering. Maybe they got scared right at the end, when they saw their wounded friends, but they sure as hell weren't scared here when they were taunting and, physically touching him, and then they eventually shove him on the ground because he pushed somebody away. But they already been touching him.
Does that make sense to you? Because you heard this. As the numbers rose, as the number of people grew,
That's such a dumb response, Caddy. Really, just being honest.
Their fear, it decreased. And you've heard Mr. Anderson say over and over again, all Nick Mew had to do was walk away. Well, you heard from each one of those tubers, those drunk teenagers, we could have passed. When he walked over by Madison Cohen, we could have passed. And you heard Owen Pelican. I didn't want to pass. I wanted to see how this was going to play out. Why? Because Joanne Packfield was recording this entire incident. They wanted to see what was going to happen. They're not afraid. They want to see how this is going to play out. And Jawan Cockfield said it best of all. It's for the culture. He wanted to put it on the internet so other people could see. And when you're using your everyday experiences in life, ask yourself this. Do people who are afraid of other people, do they walk up on them? Is that what people do when you're afraid of someone? Or do you try to get away from them? If you're afraid of someone, do you taunt them? Do you call them names? Do you circle around them? Those are questions that you all can answer. Or, an alternative hypothesis to them being terrified is, do they do those things because they're drunk teenagers and what they want to do is make a video and put it on the internet? Which one of those two things, based on the evidence that you've seen, which one of those things makes more sense to you? The second thing that I think is in dispute, or was at least raised in the first minute and 49 seconds of that video, is whether or not Nick Mew's looking for little girls. Now, Mr. Anderson gets up here and says, no, he wasn't looking for little girls. But he also says, the boys didn't invent that. No, they pretty much invented that. And why do we, or how do we know that? So that's not on video anywhere, right? They don't mention it, they don't say anything about Nick Mew telling them that, right? Every one of them who speaks to the police provides a statement about what happened. Zero mention to the police that he said he was looking for little girls. This gentleman over here, Investigator Schultz, I think he said that he was a sensitive crimes investigator. He saw some of this stuff come across his desk, and that would have interested him. Investigator did testify. Said he would have mentioned, if any of these kids would have mentioned little girls, I would have taken note of that. So, what's the alternative? Why did they say that? I would submit to you that what kind of person does what these kids did to him, and what would they look like as people if all they did was pick a guy out and start to torment him? What do we think of people who do that? What do we think of people who call grown men rapers and pedophiles and predators for kicks? What do we think of those people? They had to come in and say that. Because if they don't, we know what we think of them. That's the reason they came in, and they said this to you guys under oath. They got on that witness stand and swore to tell the truth, and they told you that he said he was looking for little girls. Well, the cops got up under oath and told you, no, they never mentioned that to me. What are the odds? What are the odds that actually happened and nobody mentions it to the police? What are the odds? Two other little points on that. In your everyday experiences in life, would you expect a man that you never met to walk up to you and say, if you ask him, how's your day? What are you doing? Oh, I'm looking for little girls. Would you expect someone to actually do that? Does that make any sense to you? He's with his wife. He has lunch with his wife and his friends. In order to believe what these drunk teenagers are saying, you have to believe that he has lunch with his wife, he's with his friends, they're having a fine time. Ariel loses his phone, and Nick goes, this is my chance. My wife's right over there, but this is my chance to go look for little girls. And I'm going to tell a bunch of drunk teenagers I've never met before, that's what I'm doing. Tell me that makes sense to you. Because you get to judge the credibility of what people have said to you. Okay? But I want to talk about what we know.
Thank you, Jill.
In that first minute
Appreciate
and
it.
49 seconds of the video. What do we know? We know, based on the evidence, that Nick's looking for a phone. We know that. Ariel said that. Nick said that. They find Ariel's phone in the river. So we know that.
That's where
we know that Nick comes up to the teenager's tubes, and we know that Cockfield's looking for a phone, and Cockfield's holding the phone. Joan Cockfield's holding the phone. We know that Nick Mew walks away from them as he passes them. We know that. We know right? That the drunk teenagers move toward him.
Yeah, they move the whole. That's exactly what I
and start
noticed.
confronting him. We know that.
Yeah.
We also know that Nick sees what he believes to be a reasonable, rational adult.
So here's the thing, everybody. I watched, when I did my analysis of the video, I missed some parts, you know. Like I didn't see when he stabbed or sliced the girl, or because they're not on camera, but I know where they are now, and also Isaac. And you see Isaac getting hit, you just don't know that Isaac's in the background. I thought it was one of the lunges. Hold on, I already gave that. That's the good blue as medicine. But I just watched this with no knowledge of the case at all. Just watching the video. You don't have that. The thing is, that's all it is. The video is the entire case. That's why they keep playing it over and over and over again, because that's all it is. All the other stuff is smoke and mirror garbage. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter that he lied 1,000 times. None of that stuff. What's on the video is what happened in the case.
So he heads over there to talk to her. And what we know is you can see his thumb.
Yeah, I gave him 927. I snuck out and gave him his Lasix and also the other that other medicine that he takes.
He's motioning back, trying to explain what happened. And we know that Madison Cohen, who knows nothing about what happened, zero, starts screaming at him to leave. We know that Madison Cohen feels comfortable enough to put her hands on him for the first time and move him because, well, she's queen of the river and she decides where people go. So she's moving him. We know that. We know that Nick is uncomfortable, so he waits for his group to come over because the state can say whatever they want. He's by himself. So we know Nick does that. We know that when Nick waves to his group, so does Madison Cohen. But there's one big difference here. Her group shows up, and they show up in numbers. We know that the group of teens are brave, and as this is going on, they start taunting this man who's done nothing to them. We know that.
Yeah, I think that blonde lady that showed up, she caused a lot of problems too. So her and the guy with the phone.
We know that Riley Madison comes over, and now she thinks it's necessary because she's been anointed something in the river, and she gets to tell him where to go. So we know that she puts her hands on him.
Gene Salzman said, "Wake up and spend some money in here." Thanks, Gray. Yeah, exactly. What happened to the old days, man? You guys are all, it was so awesome. Sort of relegated to asking now.
We know that Nick's uncomfortable enough that he waves the group over a second time, trying to get someone to come to his aid. We know that. We know that Madison Cohen pushes him, puts her hands on him. Again, he tells her not.
Right, but that doesn't make any difference, my three sons. Look, I'd rather 6 guilty people go free than 1 innocent be found guilty. That's how adamant I am of my opinion. It doesn't help your opinion at all. I can sit here and go like this. You guys, I've studied 6,000 cases in my life, and I know what I'm talking about, everybody. I know it. So just believe me then. It's ridiculous. Just watch the freaking video. There's the answer.
To touch him, but she does it anyway. We know at that point it's 13 against 1. The other thing that we know, because we heard it, was someone in the group, the brave group of 6, tells Nick Mew, you got 10 seconds. In your everyday experiences in life, when someone tells you that you have 10 seconds, what normally comes after that? If we have children, I'm going to count to 3.
My thing is I've covered well over 2,000 cases on this channel, and it allows me to, I think it gives me a better insight into cases in general, right? But that's it. I don't sit there and I think we figure out what's going on in cases, but it doesn't make me go, yeah. You know, like a case like this, I wouldn't sit here and just say something that it doesn't make sense to me, but I say it out loud anyways. I mean, I don't know if that even made any sense, but I'm like, I'm going to say something that doesn't make sense just so I can be cool and be part of the pack. You know, I don't do it. That's why on this channel, sometimes I suffer because of that. But again, let me read what the last person said. Wake up, everybody, wake up. We're at 194. We got 55 more to go, and then I'll give out the 5 memberships. Because I've done 2, this will be 6 hours of shows today, probably longer.
You got 10 seconds to do this. Nothing's good is coming after that. It's reasonable in our experiences as adults to take that as a threat, right? And if you think about it, they all blamed. They didn't know it. But the guy holding the bag is Isaac. We know it's not Joanne Cockfield, and everybody else denied it. So who's left? Their buddy Isaac. They all blame, without saying his name. They're just like, wasn't me, wasn't me, wasn't me. Well, they're saying it's the one person who isn't here. Right? That's what we know. We know.
Or is there?
Everything here I just told you is what we know in the first minute and 49 seconds. And why does that matter?
No, but his ex-wife was absolutely defended him. I watched the ex-wife testimony today, and the ex-wife said, yeah, he wasn't a violent person at all. She was absolutely, her testimony helped him, in my opinion. I don't know. You must have watched something else. I don't know.
What is?
Judge, I can't see the exhibits on any of the rebuttals.
And step up and go over to the side.
What does that matter? Why does this matter? Because one of the things you have to consider when you consider self-defense is Nick Mew's reasonable belief that there is going to be an imminent interference with his person. And when you add all of these things together, he has to subjectively believe that. As a jury, as you sit here today.
See, here's what I don't like. They're going to have they have the picture up of the person that was killed, the family sitting there, and it puts pressure on the jury to come up with something so they don't have to see the heartache of a not guilty verdict. So they added all these other charges, and they'll pick one just to do something. You know, isn't there something a little off about that? The jury should be free of pressure, you know? And you know that's what that causes, absolute pressure, having family members sitting there.
We don't get to look at it and say, what would an objective, reasonable person do? Does Nick feel that way? Does Nick feel, with all of these things listed here, that there is an imminent unlawful interference with his person? And I would submit to you, he does. He told you he did. Right? We're going to see the video.
Why does he arm the security system because of me? JJ. What did I do? Oh, all the creepy stories that are out there? Yeah.
One time, promise, broken up into those parts.
I'm going to have to get thrown in prison tonight somehow. We'll have to figure it out. I'm sure I've been mean. Oh my God. That's enough right there to get thrown in prison.
What is he on? Whoa! 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 What's your way? Oh God! We up! We up! What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? What?
He's looking.
What?
I know exactly what he's doing right now. The snorkels fell down and they're drifting downstream. So now he's looking downstream past the inner tubes to see if he can find his snorkel and his mask.
What's wrong with your homie? He's on camera. Scripting. He's on 4K. Yo, the new iPhone got that good quality. What do you say? Yeah, what the hell? Who is this? Yes. For the culture. Who is that? For the culture. Who is that? Who the hell is this?
It doesn't matter.
He said he was looking for a little girl. He said he was looking for a little girl. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Weirding us out. I didn't have that part on camera, did I? Some young ass kid. What the hell is this guy's problem, bro? We trying to have fun. Is he gonna close you? He's gonna claim you. We don't want this on camera.
Look at that. Look at that. It's an absolute mob, you guys. This is ridiculous. How do you not see that?
The second
maniacal on
part of the video that I think is important, and Attorney Anderson's talked a little bit about it, is really the 1 second that
Thank
we don't
you,
get
Jill
to see,
Downey.
right? The 1 second where the state is insinuating and is claiming that Madison Cohen was punched, and where Nick Mew has testified that he raises his arm to get her out of his space. So those are the two possibilities as to what happened in the video that you don't see. And
yeah, so there's two possibilities. He's saying that he raised his arm to push her out, get her out of the way, push her out of the way, or he punched her, right? That's what he just said, I think. Let me rewind it.
Is really the 1 second that we don't get to see, right? The 1 second where the state is insinuating and is claiming that Madison Cohen was punched, and where Nick Mew has testified that he raises his arm to get her out of his space. So those are the two possibilities as to what happened in the video that you don't see.
Here. Watch.
And I am, once again, asking that you use your everyday experience.
Well, if you don't think his life was in danger after he shoved him to the ground and started punching him in the face, and, you know. Well, what do you... Okay, let me just ask you. Let's say he wouldn't have died, but let's say they just punched him, kicked him in the face, and, you know, he wasn't going to die, you know. But does it really matter? I mean, self-defense is self-defense. You can't predict what the final outcome would be. Let me go look into the future really quick. Okay, I'm only going to break an arm, have a puffed up face, and maybe a broken rib. Okay, I'll deal with that. Yeah, go ahead. Kick the shit out of me. Go ahead. Forget it, man. Just use common sense. Let me ask you something, my three sons. If your son was at a park and 12 kids went around him and started screaming, calling him all kinds of names, and one of them shoved him over, and he got back up, and then they punched him in the face, and your son had a knife, and he defended himself, and somebody died, would you be out there going, oh, bull crap, my son should be in prison? Do it the other way around. Who cares about his age or anything?
Experiences in life when you make this determination, okay? And I understand that people in stressful situations don't get everything perfect. I get that. I'm not holding anybody to this exact standard. But what have we heard in order to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this happened? Well, you heard A.J. Martin say that he grabbed her by the back of the hair and was slugging her from behind. Okay? No one else says that. You hear Alex Vang say he slapped her with a right hand in the face. Then I say, Mr. Vang, how can that happen?
Hey, tell you what, you guys, I'm going to donate 5 memberships here. If anybody else out there wants to donate memberships, that'd be great too. We can get more freaks here. It'd be awesome. Anyways, let me play it.
And he's got a knife in his hand. And he says, you're right, that can't happen. He punched her. You hear Juwan Cockfield, who's not looking at it, he's holding his camera in another direction, says he threw a hook at her. I saw that. Right? Madison Cohen says, she said at direct examination, he hit me with a left hand.
Are you looking for winning option trade alerts with high return rates and a...
I'm just opening up my video so I can...
Then when I asked her questions and I said, can you explain how that's humanly possible? And her response was, you're right. I get lefts and rights wrong. He hit me on the other side. Okay. But the state says she had a heartbeat in her cheek.
I want to rewind a little bit.
got a knife in his hand. And he says, you're right, that can't happen. He punched her. You hear Joanne Cockfield, who's not looking at it, holding his camera in another direction, says, he threw a hook at her. I saw that. Right? Madison Cohen says, she said on direct examination, he hit me with a left hand to the left side of my face. And it sat there. Then when I asked her questions and I said, can you explain how that's humanly possible? And her response was, you're right. I get lefts and rights wrong. You hit me on the other side.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. But the state says she had a heartbeat in her cheek. She should remember what side of her cheek the heartbeat was in. She doesn't get that right. But how about the things when you use your everyday experiences in life that the state, they didn't talk about when he was up here talking about her injuries. He talks about her falling back and people seeing things. Okay, people can be wrong. How about things that make sense, though? We know that she's wearing sunglasses, right? We know that. Her sunglasses are not broken. She doesn't have a mark on her face from being cut by sunglasses. None of that. Is that what would happen if a 250-pound man squared up on a woman and threw a hook to her face? She doesn't have redness.
Hey, but my three sons, if your son, was surrounded by the same people and they were saying the same things and then they ended up shoving him on the ground, punched him in the face, and your son had a weapon with him, would you be saying the same thing about your kid? And don't come back with, my son would never do that because I'm a super mom. Okay, what would you say in that situation? Go ahead. We'll just pause the show because you're sort of running the chat. Go ahead. What would you say? Okay, there we go. My son's really not killers. Okay, get the hell out of here. Man, what a joke.
On her face. She doesn't have swelling on her face. She doesn't have puffiness.
So they would just lay down and get punched. Your son.
Do we know
Wow,
that?
that's really great.
Investigator Schultz told us. I saw her shortly thereafter.
My sons would allow themselves to beat up so they wouldn't kill somebody. My sons are taught to love everybody. So even if they're beating the hell out of him, he's just going to sit there and take it because he's not going to ever want to take somebody else's life. He'd give up his own by being beaten up to death. They're so awesome. Oh, they're the greatest kids in the world.
And she didn't have a mark on her. He says, if I would have seen a mark, I would have taken a photograph of that mark. Makes sense, right? She doesn't drop her drink. She doesn't drop her vape. Her cell phone doesn't leave her bathing suit. Is that what happens when a 250-pound man squares up on a woman? She doesn't drop a thing.
Yeah, she still has her glasses on. She's still everything. That's a pretty good
point.
point
Does that
there.
make sense to you all? Or does it make more sense that Nick Mew pushes her out of his space? Attorney Anderson said she's not in his face. Well, most of her friends said...
Well, there was something about like that with the drink. What the hell was it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a friend. Like, he likes his beer, right? This is back in the day, and we were golfing, and a lightning strike hit the green. I mean, like, we were right there. It's like, bang! And we all fell to the ground. But I turned around, and he fell to the ground, but he held his beer up. Not one drop fell out of that thing. And I was like, man, that is amazing.
No, she was. She was in his face. She was in his face. She was in his space. Right? If he makes this motion, she's not going to have rope.
Yeah, I don't know how there's two people with my three sons. That's like, seems like the odds of that are so low. I don't know how that happened. Okay, no problem there, my three sons. Have a good one. The other one.
She's not going to have a mark on her face.
Your responses are really just insane. I don't mean to, but you're sitting there saying your sons aren't killers. Well, this guy wasn't a killer either, right? Until this day. So how do you know how your son's reaction? What if your son had pulled out the weapon? Let me ask you this. So you just said a minute ago, he would back up, pull out his weapon. What if they charged him even after he pulled out his weapon? He probably would have fired, right? And it would kill them. And then what would you say then? He had no choice. They were coming at him. Okay. Well, that's what we have here. That's what we have here. Thank you. God, don't you hate the logic of stuff like that, what I just said? It's too clear. I know. It's difficult.
Puffiness, swelling, a bruise. She's not going to drop her drink because he doesn't hit her. Which one of those two things in your everyday experiences in life makes more sense? You get to decide that. And I want you to think about this. She knows the seriousness of the case. She tells the police she takes a photograph or photographs. Then she claims to have deleted them in a homicide case. Then the police say, that's okay. That happens. You give us your phone, we can get the pictures. Right? Wrong. They do a Cellbrite downloaded extraction of her phone.
She has no evidence that
Investigator
her
Schultz doesn't
face
do
was
it, but he
swollen.
reviews it and says, nah, there's no deleted photos that I saw in there. He even goes so far as to reach out to Madison Cohen's mother because maybe she either took the photos or were sent the photos. No, not there either. You get to judge the credibility of people and whether or not that makes sense.
That's awesome.
That is not provocation. And just briefly on retreat and provocation. I told you when I started, there is no duty to retreat. And that is true. That's the first sentence in the retreat instruction. If you want to, it says you may consider whether or not
Yeah, the blonde. I think
when
it's
he
the
was
blonde.
retreating, or if he had to retreat, whether the defendant reasonably believed the amount of force used was necessary to terminate the interference, you may consider whether he had the opportunity to retreat. Okay? Now, you don't have to, but when it starts, when it matters, is when he's using the force. And when he's doing that, he's surrounded. He told you he was surrounded. I asked Lieutenant Hart, do you have any information that would be contrary to Nick Mew's belief or statement that he was surrounded? She said, no, I don't. Where's he gonna go? So he doesn't have to go anywhere. We don't let people dictate what we do, and the loudest voice in the room doesn't have to win. Madison Cohen doesn't get to make these decisions for people. He doesn't have to leave. The drunk teenagers don't have to leave either. They told you they could have left, but they wanted to see the show. He doesn't have to go, and there's nowhere to go. That should be the beginning, middle, and end of that evaluation on retreat. Same analysis, same result on provocation. Okay?
Rat freaks are only 45 away from the goal.
You have to find that Nick Mew committed an unlawful conduct against Madison Cohen to provoke this attack. He wanted her to get out of his personal space.
35.
The bully in the room doesn't get to yell at you and tell you to leave, and then when you don't leave, doesn't get to get in your personal space because you are not leaving. That's not how this works. The last part of the video is the 150 to 205 mark. Okay? Now, you heard yesterday. The state wants to break this video, this last 15 seconds or so, down into stills. 1/24th of a second. No one lives their life in 1/24th of a second. And you're not supposed to in this case, because you're supposed to look at this case through the eyes of Nick Mew. And if you've watched that video, the first time I saw it, I didn't see what happened. I didn't see him pull a knife. I didn't see some of these people getting injured. Because it's moving like this. When you break it down to 1/24th of a second, it's just not how we live our lives. You have to look at those 14 seconds through Nick Mew's eyes as he was standing there in the room. And remember, he told you yesterday that he believed that he was going to die. But he doesn't have to believe that. He just has to believe that he's going to suffer serious bodily injury. That's what he has to believe, okay? And before I start this video...
Well, thanks, Ginger Mash and Christy on PayPal. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you this again. What do we know?
Thank you, April Rain.
In those last 15 seconds. We know that Anthony and Dante Carlson were asked by their dad to go over there. Why? To help him. Quentin Carlson testified that he was concerned that Nick Mew was going to get the brakes beat off of him.
Thank you, Gene.
So Quentin Carlson wanted his boys to go
25 to go.
I would submit to you that Quentin Carlson was concerned that Nick Mew was going to suffer serious bodily injury if someone didn't help him. Alex Vang told you. Mew's getting his butt kicked.
Let me hear this part over here again.
That's what he has to believe, okay? And before I start this video, I'm going to ask you this again. What do we know in those last 15 seconds? We know that Anthony and Dante Carlson were asked by their dad to go over there.
Hey, thanks,
Why?
Nora.
To help him. Quentin Carlson testified that he was concerned.
You say, what better than you? Anyways, thanks. Hey, look at that. And Veruca Nasi. Or N-A-C-I. What does that stand for? That must mean something. National Center. I don't know.
That Nick Mew was going to get the brakes beat off of him.
Hey, thanks.
So Quentin Carlson wanted his boys to go assist. I would submit to you that Quentin Carlson was concerned that Nick Mew was going to suffer serious bodily injury if someone didn't help him. Alex Vang told you. Mew's getting his butt kicked when this is going on. And Owen Peliquin said those guys got on his ass. Right? Anthony Carlson is yelling, stop, stop, stop. He's not yelling it to Nick Mew. Nick Mew's tail down in the water. Presumably he's telling it to the people who are beating him. Right? That's what we know.
Look at that, look at that.
He ain't a woman! He ain't a woman! You ain't a woman!
Now, Juwan Cockfield found that to be funny for quite some time. You can hear him cackling.
Yeah.
On how he thinks it's funny that Mew's getting punched in the face and knocked in the face.
Exactly.
Slapped. Okay? But what we know from that video is a 250-pound man. 250-pound man has been knocked clean off his feet backwards into the water by getting punched in the jaw.
Hey, thanks, AJ.
That's what we know.
First super chat on a live stream.
We know that in 1 second, Dante Carlson, who throws that punch, runs around to the other side of Nick Mew while he's still on his back, kind of on his lower, on his butt, kind of on his lower back, and he cracks him across the face. We know that. That's not instinct.
What's weird is his stabs are so, they're just like these little short things, and they just had these devastating effect. Did he look like he was a maniac? I'm going to do a poll on that. So like 55% of people said, I didn't say it right. I said, will he be found? But, will he be found guilty for any of the charges? And I think 55% yes, but 9% said he acted in self-defense. They just don't believe in that justice happens the way it should. All right, hold on. Let me do a poll here. There we go. It's just, I don't.
We know that A.J. Martin, who says he's the peacekeeper, that's what he said, he runs up from behind and shoves Nick Mew, while Dante Carlson comes in for thirds and smacks Nick Mew in the face again. I would submit to you at this point,
I think
it's
you're
coming
right,
from
1,
all
2,
sides
3.
and from multiple people. And this man, who had...
I think there's pressure on the jury to find something because the family's sitting there sobbing every second of the, and they'll feel bad if they can't find something. That's why the prosecutors gave the lesser charges so that at least they have an out to give them something to appease the family. Isn't that sick, really?
And heart surgery is terrified as to what's going on. We know. Well, let me just remind you of this.
Yeah, I think a hung jury is a
After he's
possibility,
been
really.
punched, slapped, pushed, slapped, he hasn't stabbed anyone. Right? And if you listened closely to what AJ...
Here's what I think the jury's doing. This is my opinion. If our polls are correct and 79% of the people think he is self-defense, that they're wanting to watch the video over and over again to convince a few holdouts that they think it's a first-degree murder, okay? Because this guy here is making way better points than the prosecutor did. It actually, what he's saying is exactly what you see, right? I mean, that's the reality.
Martin said in his testimony, when he was shown the picture of him making contact with Mr. Mew before Mr. Mew stabbed him,
That's
he said,
true, though. That's true, Jamie.
he got me before I got him, I guess. What does that tell you about what A.J. Martin's intention is? He's back in the water now for a third time after getting pushed down by A.J. Martin. And what do we see next? That's Anthony Carlson. He walks right by me. Mew doesn't do a thing to him. Mr. Mew doesn't do a thing to Anthony Carlson as he walks by. You will then see, and what we know is Anthony Carlson comes up from behind him, appears to be yelling at him.
And by the way, the knife that he's using, it's like, now if he pulled out a gun, like out of his waistband and just started firing at everybody, you know, the perception might be a little different. But I mean, he pulls out this little 3-inch blade. He's just sort of like defending himself, like little jabs, like stay away, and the jabs go in. I mean, the jabs they don't look like he went way back and was trying to like get some massive blow in there. They just happened to go in because it's sharp and it went in and caused a lot of damage. And you know, the AJ's wound was because it went in and then he jumped back and the knife went up like that.
And putting his hands on him. So now Mew has been touched at that point, punched, pushed from behind and slapped. And now Anthony Carlson comes up to him. We know that. And then we know 1 second later that Isaac Schumann comes up to him. You guys get to make the decision on whether or not he's choking him around the neck. You get to make that decision.
It's a shove to the neck.
You get to decide if that looks like a choke to you or not.
Yeah,
so at that point, 4 people have attacked Nick Mew. And why does it matter? Why does any of that matter? Because if you find the following, Nick Mew is not guilty of all the charges, okay? If you find that Nick Mew believed that there was an imminent, unlawful interference with his person.
Which is 100%, right, you guys? I mean, 100%.
You believe that he believed that was coming. The 19 or 18 reasons that I put up there supports that, and he told you that. And that's his subjective beliefs, okay? If he believed the amount of force that he used was necessary to terminate that interference, okay? So if he believed that he did what he had to do, right? I would submit to you there's only 2 answers to that. Only 2 possible answers. He either did what he had to do to survive, or this man who you watch the video, who's never got a speeding ticket, who decides to go out with his wife that day, who's floating down the river and having lunch, decides, you know what, today's the day I'm going to start stabbing people. I'm going to leave my group, I'm going to go over and I'm going to start stabbing people. Mr. Anderson says he snapped. If he was in fear, he would have left. think anybody would dispute
Some
that he
people
was
don't
in
do
fear.
that when they're feared.
So when you're determining whether or not what he did, if he believed that he had to do that to terminate that interference, I would submit to you, why else would he do it? He either believed that or he just lost his mind. Right? This 52-year-old engineer who's married just lost his mind that day. Those are the two options I think that you have on that. And the final thing that you need to decide is whether or not his beliefs were reasonable. And the standard is what a person of ordinary intelligence and prudence would have believed standing in his shoes at that moment. Okay? Quentin Carlson is about his age. And Quentin Carlson is concerned enough for his safety that he sends his boys over. Quentin Carlson tells the police that after his boys have been injured. He tells the police, I get it, they're injured. I sent them over there because I was concerned for the old guy. Brandy Hart. Did you watch that video yesterday? There's a point in that video where Nick Mew
Hey, hold on a second. Hey, are you from, Hey, Norm, are you in England? UK somewhere? I was just wondering. Because the word defense is spelled D-E-F-E-N-C-E in Europe, but D-E-F-E-N-S-E in the United States. Isn't that crazy?
puts his hand in his head and says something like, my life is over.
Because we have the word fence over here, so to me it's like, hey, did you jump over defense? Right. Yeah, because you're a branch off of from England. So.
And Brandy Hart says, I don't know about that. They're self-defense. She says, I don't know what I would have done. But I can tell you I would have been scared shitless. She's been a police officer for 25 years. And that is her response. State never followed up with her on anything after that. That was her statement to the police. Or that was her statement on the tape. And as I mentioned, Alex Vang and Owen Peliquin say he's getting his butt kicked. They're all over him. Are those reasonable people? You get to decide what a reasonable person would do in that situation. But I would submit to you, you've got something to work with.
Yeah, I'm gonna hear who's he talking about right here?
Where Nick Mew puts his hand in his head and says something like, my life is over. And Brandy Hart says, I don't know about that.
What do you mean the lead investigator? Why wasn't the lead investigator on the trial then?
They're self-defense. She says, I don't know what I would have done. But I can tell you I would have been scared.
Who says that? I guess we have to rewind it further.
I'm going to go over and I'm going to start stabbing people. Mr. Anderson says he snapped. If he was in fear, he would have left. I think anybody would dispute that he was in fear. So when you're determining whether or not what he did, if he believed that he had to do that to terminate that interference, I would submit to you, why else would he do it?
Well, if she was the lead investigator, how did this case get to where it was?
Either believed that or he just lost his mind. Right? This 52-year-old engineer who's married just lost his mind that day. Those are the two options I think that you have on that. And the final thing that you need to decide is whether or not his beliefs were reasonable. And the standard is what a person of ordinary intelligence and prudence would have believed standing in his shoes at that moment. Okay? Quentin Carlson is about his age. And Quentin Carlson is concerned enough for his safety that he sends his boys over.
Jane Smith said, these days it's a peaceful protest to burn police stations, business, and cars in the street. These guys are criminals, but everything is so backwards. Yeah, I totally agree. You can have, trashing police cars, rioting in the streets, and that's all okay. You get out of jail in 5 seconds. But if you have somebody who's defending themselves, oh my God, what a monster. Oh. How about you just quit acting like hooligans? I mean, it's just, Law and order, everybody. Law and order is what creates a civil society. When you start degrading law and order, that's when we start seeing these types of incidents happen over and over and over again at a much more alarming rate now.
Carlson tells the police that after his boys have been injured. He tells the police, I get it, they're injured. I sent them over there because I was concerned for the old guy. Brandy Hart.
Okay, Brandy Hart, there you go.
Did you watch that video yesterday? There's a point in that video where Nick Mew puts his hand in his head and says something like, my life is over. And Brandy Hart says, I don't know about that. They're self-defense. She says, I don't know what I would have done. But I can tell you I would have been scared shitless. She's been a police officer for 25 years.
That's a pretty good piece of information.
And that is her response. State never followed up with her on anything after that. That was her statement to the police. Or that was her statement on the tape. And as I mentioned, Alex Vang and Owen Peliquin say he's getting his butt kicked. They're all over him. Are those reasonable people? You get to decide what a reasonable person would do in that situation. But I would submit to you, you've got something to work with. You've got something to work with. Briefly on the charges.
There might be some influential parents on the victim sides, and they sort of put pressure on the prosecutors. Because what a ridiculous, I just think it's a ridiculous case to have got this far. I mean, I could see if they wanted to charge him on something lower, like reckless endangerment or something. You know, I bet, I don't know. It's just, I mean, I don't even see that really, but I'm just saying, it's just bizarre that they're going for first degree intentional homicide. Like, what? Yeah, he did intentionally kill, you know, I don't even know if he intentionally tried to kill somebody. He just jabbed out as for a defensive maneuver. Like, hey, just jabbing. He probably didn't think, oh, I'm going to kill these people. He thought, okay, I'm just getting away, hitting them. And not only that, it's not like he planned it. Like he sat around and planned the thing, like premeditated, etc. He was being surrounded by people. Yes, he sort of clandestinely took out the knife and had it down by his side. But I think he just felt like, hell, stuff's starting to happen here. I might not have a chance to take the knife out of my shorts if I get punched in the face and jammed into the water. You know, so he got it out so he'd have it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you know, honest to God, I don't. In this situation, there's nothing wrong with it. If he had walked, let me just tell you the difference here. If he had walked across that pond, or the lake or whatever, it wasn't a lake, it was a river, a really shallow, slow-moving river. If he had had the knife in his hand on the walk over here and the exact same things happened in the video, I would be on the other side of this story. Let's just say everything else was exactly the same. They were laughing and mocking and joking and everything, and he had the knife in his hand the entire time. I would absolutely be on the other side of the case, because that means he walked over there with the intent to use his knife on them. But he didn't do that. He walked over there, you know, ridiculed, mocked, they had his hands on him, turned him around, and then he felt the pressure of all of them coming around, and then he pulls out the knife, and he didn't even use it after he got shoved to the ground, punched in the face, or slapped in the face, whatever you want to call it. And then it was after that, when he got up and people lunged at him, he stabbed them. You see that? I mean, don't you agree that if he'd walked across, like right before he dropped the snorkel, if you saw that he had a blade sticking in his hand, I think every one of us would be saying, oh yeah, he's guilty, first degree murder. That's not what he was doing, though. That's not what happened.
Okay. Before you even get to self-defense, you get to intent. You have to find intent on the homicide charges initially for Isaac Schumann, and you have to find them for the others involved. Okay? And the question on intent is mental.
Yeah, so we got 19% trolls that said, yes, he maniacally started stabbing. Because anybody watching that, if you think that he's a maniac stabbing people, then you're you know, again, your brain isn't working correctly. That's not nice, Gray. My brain's working cool. I just see it differently than you. Well, how do you see it that way? I don't even get it. He's standing still and he just raises his hand up a few times, jabbing as people are lunging at him.
The purpose. Can you watch that video and say that Nick Mew's mental purpose is to kill Isaac Schumann? Or is his mental purpose to get another person off of him? You get to decide that. Okay. Under those circumstances, you heard everybody say, anybody who never touched him, he never touched. Right? People were like, I didn't want to get near him. They didn't touch him, he didn't touch them.
So you guys think in Australia he wouldn't gone to court? Seems like over there they'd be more likely to find something wrong. It just wouldn't be a big deal, right? Nobody would be talking about it.
Say anything. You get to consider all the facts and circumstances. He didn't say anything to Isaac. Right? Isaac grabbed him by the throat and he stabs him one time. Is that an intent? Is that his intention?
Yeah, over there it's a tough one. Over here it shouldn't be a tough one.
And when you started this case, you heard that was the charge. Well, those charges have changed. Now you get to consider all other kinds of charges. With all other kinds of mental states too, right? Maybe it was intentional. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was reckless. Pick a theory. Don't let them just throw things against the wall and hope that you guys let something stick. They're telling you they thought it was intentional. Now it might not be. Now it might be reckless. They don't have it. Nick,
I can't say that he intentionally tried to kill them. Can you? Can anybody say that? I mean, it's just like he's just jabbing out and it happened to kill people. You know, I don't know. I mean, is he like some sort of martial arts expert that...
Mew wanted to get Isaac Schumann away from him. He didn't chase Isaac Schumann down. He didn't move toward Isaac Schumann. Isaac Schumann moved toward him.
Exactly.
And on the attempted homicides, read the instruction on attempt, you guys. In order to convict someone of an attempted homicide, the state must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that demonstrates unequivocally that Nick wanted to kill these people and would have, except for the intervention of another person or some other extraneous factor.
You know what's weird about this attorney is he's literally is just like saying exactly what rational-minded people think. It's like you just watch it. It's the reality of it. And it's the same thing in the Rittenhouse trial. If you actually watch the video and everything like that, it was self-defense. Absolutely. I mean, it's strange, right? You're just watching it, you're listening to him, and you're just like, yeah, that makes sense. That, you know, without even knowing, like, I didn't watch the whole trial, right? I watched the video. And what he's saying right here matches exactly what my brain was seeing when I was seeing the video. That's it. It's weird. It's weird. But it's, so when I'm listening to him, like, yeah, and I'm listening to the prosecutor, they're describing something that is, it's a stretch of the imagination to believe what they're saying. This right here, what he's saying is way more resonant with what you're seeing when you watch it, right? The prosecutor, when he was talking, you had to make your mind stretch to see the things in the same way that he was describing it. Yeah, but there just might be that many dumb people on that jury. We don't know.
Okay? And unequivocally means there can be no other inference which can reasonably be drawn. No other inference. And an extraneous factor is something outside the control of Nick. You heard D.A. Anderson say, but for medical intervention, some of these people would have died. Well, A.J. Martin would have. Dante Carlson had a hernia. He repaired a hernia. I'm sorry, medical intervention doesn't prevent him. He's not going to die from that. Anthony Carlson gets 2 stitches. He's certainly not going to die from that. And Riley Madison could have got an infection, they said. I understand that. But if he wanted to kill them, why didn't he? If you believe Attorney Anderson, he's alone with Dante Carlson. Why does he stab him one time if he wants to kill him? Why doesn't he slash him up? He wants what he wanted all along. To get away.
I think what he should put in there is I forgot his name, the guy with the jean shorts. He was had his back turned to him. That would have been a perfect time to attack him if he was just trying to kill people, right? But he didn't do that. He didn't do that at all.
Away from these people. He's leaving, and Dante Carlson, who has beaten him up, has hit him in the face repeatedly, confronts him again. What does he think? What does Nick Mew believe is about to happen? You don't have to let somebody beat you before you respond. Doesn't that make sense? And because they don't have the attempts here, because there was no outside extraneous factor, they also say, might not be attempts, take a chance on reckless. How about that? Again, not really a theory, but you get to make that decision. I'm going to comment on the video, because I think it's appropriate, that was played, the interview with Nick and Brandy Hart. He lies about the knife. He lies about the knife. What Lieutenant Hart said is he's never wavered on, is that this was self-defense. That he was fearful and that he was being attacked. Okay? That he's never wavered on it. He said it over 20 times in the interview, and it's the first words out of his mouth when he's interviewed by Lieutenant Hart. Some people get some facts wrong, some people lie about stuff. He's not telling you the truth about the knife. But does it change one thing that you saw on that video?
Boom, see?
That's the reason we want there to be a video.
See, that's what I'm saying, everybody. That's what I'm saying. Didn't I say that exact same thing? Like 2 days ago? Or yesterday, or whatever the hell we first started? I said the exact same thing. That all the lying and everything like that is irrelevant because you see the video. The video tells the story of what happened. And thank God that the video exists. As I said before, if this video did not exist, and he did the same lies that he did and everything like that, even if it exactly happened the same way, there isn't a soul out there that wouldn't believe that he walked over there and just started stabbing those kids, because that's how they would have told the story. They would all came up with this crazy, oh man, he was a wild maniac. They wouldn't even mention that they made fun of him and talked about pedophiles. They wouldn't have mentioned that crap at all. They never would have said that at all. They would have just said, he came walking over to us and we didn't know what he was doing, and then he pulled out a knife and he started stabbing all of us, and we were just... And then he lied. Look how he lied to the police, everybody. Well, he's guilty of first-degree murder, and everybody would have believed it forever. Hell, we would have believed it, right? Because you wouldn't have anything else to go by. But that pesky video exists of what really happened. And it's weird. It's almost like the prosecutors were like, man, that video sucks. Let's do it anyways. Let's see what happens. It's just so weird, because without that video, they would have had that. But with the video, their story looks like they're just coming up with the worst case vision and version of the story to sell a case to a jury.
So you're not taking the word of 13 people who don't get it right. That video is not subject to change. Attorney Anderson's right. It is what it is. Right? What has persevered through this case is Nick Mew's fear, how he felt, the shock. You heard people testify about that. The whiteness, the wide eyes, the ghost look.
Yeah, what was the grainy video? Where'd that come from? Is that some other person with a camera somewhere else?
Color of his skin. That has persevered through this case. He lied about the knife. Doesn't change one thing. That's on that video.
Right, exactly. Nothing.
You should.
I bet it would have been good if I could speak a little better
for Isaac Schumann's
at these closing arguments.
I have a 19-year-old son. He would be in Isaac Schumann's grade right now. Everyone feels sympathy for Isaac Schumann's family. I'm sure he was a wonderful kid. And I know that his parents love him. But You don't get to decide this case based on sympathy. The judge.
And why was he filming? Because he knew that there was a ruckus going on, right?
Judge tells you that. You decide this case based on facts and evidence. That's what you are required to do. And put most succinctly, in terms of the burden of proof and what the state has to do, is they have to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt it's not self-defense.
Yeah, right.
And what does reasonable doubt mean? Well, the judge read it to you. You'll get to hear about it again.
He didn't say. They didn't say for the culture. That's not what the wording was.
That would cause a person of ordinary prudence to pause or hesitate when deciding the most important affairs of life. And I would submit to you the most important affairs of your collective lives. Are you?
What's the one? Let me go back over it. Let me just hear that again. It's right at the beginning of the. It's kind of like right around in this area. Yeah, right there, right when you see them. See, I think he's the guy right there in the dark purple shorts with the white. See, look at, they're already trying to get them to move. I mean, this is Isaac right here. So he was one of the first people instigating with him. White hat. Because eventually they find the hat in the water, and I saw a clip yesterday. This is my video. The hat in the water playing, by the way.
What is this? Yes! For the culture!
See, he's saying, we're the culture. He's saying, we're the culture. He doesn't say for the culture. I don't hear the F sound or anything. Just listen to that again. Watch. We're the culture.
Yes. For the culture. For the culture.
I don't think it says no for the culture. I don't hear it at all. Well, I don't agree with you. I don't hear him saying for the culture. I don't hear for the culture. He goes, well, he might have said that he said that, but I don't know. I can't hear that at all. You actually can hear the word for there? Let me hear that again.
Yes. For the
I guess maybe. It's just horrible. For the culture! For the culture! For the culture! Okay, maybe. You might be right. You might be right.
Your health, your family's health, loved one's health. When you're thinking about that,
oh yeah, well we got the answer to that. I'll show you Isaac here. Yeah, so it's after this, I think. Yeah, so see the guy in the jean pants there? So then he turns around. Let me do it frame by frame. See, so right here, he has the slash on the girl who came up from behind him. Right then. You can't see it though, but watch, she's turning around from him going, oh wow. Because he just did that, right? So he turns around, now boom, he stabbed him because he came around, he's got his arms on him again, then he stabbed him again. And then right here, this is Isaac coming in from out of nowhere with his hands on his throat. See that slow-mo? Like, oh! And then he stabbed back, and just that one little jab right there went through the ribs into and hit his heart. So there it is. It's all the stabbing is after he got knocked onto the ground. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
And you have to make hard decisions on those things. If there is a pause or hesitation about what you need to do because you're getting information from various places, and you say, I need a break, I need to figure this out. That's reasonable.
I did slow it. I'm not showing it again.
It is a doubt for which a reason can be given. That
Good
reason
Lord.
is
It was as slow as I could make it, one frame at a time.
And I just want you guys to know this. When you go back there and you have those verdict forms, if you believe it's self-defense, he's not guilty. If you believe it's probably self-defense, he's not guilty. If you believe it's possibly self-defense, he's not guilty. If you're like, it's likely this, I don't know, not guilty. If you believe it might not be, not guilty. If you believe it's probably not self-defense, not guilty. All of those considerations that you would have require a verdict of not guilty. Because the state has to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that it wasn't self-defense. So,
there's no way you can prove that.
There's
no chance in hell you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And the lying has nothing to do with anything. See, that's the thing. They're trying to use that in there to make it seem like it's okay to just believe us, because he lied. But just believe your eyes, though, right?
Attorney Nelson, Nick, you and I appreciate all of your time. The time that you've taken away from your families and friends to do this. The attentiveness that you've given us. And I think it's time for people to go home when you're done. And what we're asking that you do is that you send Nick Mew home. That you find him not guilty on all of the charges.
For the culture! We're a culture!
It's based on what Nick Mew told you during his testimony was thoughts in his head, the beliefs in his head.
This guy.
What do we know about
sucks.
Nick Mew? We know he's smart, speaks multiple languages, has a couple of degrees, one's in math. He's a calculating person. He's a cunning person. He's a skilled and prolific liar.
Ooh.
We know that because every word that came out of his mouth, practically since he started walking away from this group, was a lie, including to his best friend, who he said they took my knife.
By the time this guy's done, you'll think he's Ted Bundy,
While the knife is still on him. The things he said to Sheriff Knudsen, where he pretended to not know what was going on. And then everything he said to Investigator Hart, Lieutenant Hart. He is skillful at crafting a story that matches what he needs to say to avoid the consequence.
Right, he made up a story, blah, 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 blah. Watch the video, you idiot.
This is for his actions. We all know that. It's undisputed. He told you himself. He's a liar.
Yep, he's a liar.
Right?
He's a liar.
He did not just not lie about the knife. He lied about all kinds of crazy things. Bizarre things. Why would he say that these boys pulled his pants down? What a bizarre lie to make up, right? Why would he say that two boys pulled knives on him? He's got to say that because he knows.
Why does he have to say that? He doesn't have to say anything.
What he did wasn't justified. He thinks to himself.
See, this doesn't make any sense, right? When you just heard this right here, it's like, well, he had to make that up because he knew it wasn't justified. Again, watch the video.
Well, if I say one boy pulled a knife, it'd be good, but if it's two, that would be better. So he crafts this elaborate story. His entire defense rests on you believing what he said on the stand yesterday. His testimony was a disaster. He got caught in several lies on the stand. He changed his answers a couple of times when he realized that what he said wasn't helpful to his defense, right? He consistently remembered details from July 30th, 2022 that benefits his defense, but doesn't remember anything about what he did, any of the facts, any of the stories that he told Lieutenant Hart. How is that possible? That he can only remember the facts, the beliefs he had that assist his defense, and nothing else? How many times did he say on the stand, I don't remember, I don't remember, I don't remember? He repeated it over and over and over again because he doesn't want to answer questions about what he did because he knows dang well it wasn't justified. He's lying.
It's just ridiculous.
He's lying.
Watch
One of the many
video.
things I'm going to be grateful about when this is done is I never have to hear again that
that'd be a good t-shirt. Watch the video.
the actions he took that day was the fault of these boys. That's ridiculous. It's despicable. There's never been any explanation from the defense as to why Nick Mew ran up on these boys. Why he grabbed their tubes. Why he was groping around where their legs were.
You bastard.
They don't even respond to it. They
Watch the video, you bastard. Watch the video, you bastard.
They didn't bring it up. There is no explanation. That behavior is inexplicable. He's a bizarre person. He made bizarre choices that day. It's not their fault. It is not their fault. I'll say it 100 times. It's not their fault. These boys have beat themselves up every day.
It is their fault. It is their fault. You can say it 100 times that it's not their fault. It is their fault. It's 100% their fault.
Since this happened, you saw the raw emotion on the stand. Their best friend was murdered by this guy.
Yeah, you saw the emotions. Yep, they feel bad, but it is their fault. It is their fault. We can say it 1,000 times ourselves.
To say that it's their fault is despicable.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Everybody's despicable that says it's their fault that it escalated to that point. Everybody's despicable. You know who's despicable is you for saying that, because it's obvious that they escalated the entire situation.
Responsible for Nick Mew's choices, but himself. He chose violence at every turn. There's been some question about whether he's fragile. Part of him is fragile. His ego is fragile. As his attorney had said early last week, when he's questioning these boys, you were trying to humiliate him. You were trying to insult him. You were taunting him. He was humiliated. He was insulted. He didn't like these boys treating him like that. He certainly didn't like Madison Cohen getting in his face, so to speak. And eventually, he did just snap. He pulled his knife out, getting ready for violence.
No, I just think it's some... like, the thing is, like, for example, the Delphi case, the Idaho 4, I'm absolutely behind the prosecutors because I've seen, you know, I mean, I guess, you know, the thing is you could always argue, like, you know, how do we know in those cases that every single thing, there's no video in that one, right? But like in the Idaho case, you have so much stuff. The Elantra with no license plate driving around in front of the A&W restaurant right before, then drives down the street, seen again on a Linda Lane camera, then drives around, comes back. I mean, it's just, it's obvious. It's doing loops around, and it pulls in, back there for 12 minutes, ding, ding, ding. He's the one that has that. Then the knife with the DNA found on it. You know, this is, you know, but like, I guess you could wonder if there was a case like this and it had no video, the evidence itself would make it seem like he was a rampaging, first-degree murder nutjob, right? Now, in the Delphi case, Richard Allen confessed after being arrested multiple times.
Violence, pulls it out, holds it down where nobody can see it, holds it at his side, and then hits her. That started the violence. He prepared for the violence before he started it. He felt humiliated, and he wasn't going to let it go. I asked him, did you ever take a step back at any time when she was yelling at you? No.
Yeah, why would
no
he?
explanation.
I mean, he was just standing his ground. He didn't move forward either. That's the thing. They all came to
with
him.
What we call false narratives in this case. Things that the defense repeats over
They don't have a
and
stand
over
your
and over
ground
again,
law there.
hoping that you think it's fact. Okay? One of these is this 13-to-1 narrative. Okay? We've heard it 100 times in this trial. This is not a 13-to-1 situation. We've got the 6 teenage boys standing on the side by their tubes. He's confronted by the 2 girls. Everybody else is in the background. He hits Madison Cohen.
No, there was 3 guys that came right up
After
on
the
him.
fight, it's 1-on-1 to start. It's Dante hitting him. And then arguably 2-on-1 when AJ comes up and pushes him in the back. Tony breaks.
Well, that's because 13 people can't all punch at the same time, genius. I mean, he's talking about like this really tiny window of time. Of, you know what? It'd be great if the defense could interject right now and said, everything you just said happened in 12 seconds. All those people, like a melee of attacking him from all sides. Hey! But he made it sound like it was slow. Yeah, well, there's this other one. There's 2 here. Then the other one came over here. And
Sit up. The fight's done. He gets off. And AJ, of course, is already tore open, so he's laying in the river. But that's the end of the fight. Mr. Mew continued violence. He chose more violence after that part of the fight was done. Tony, who did exactly what his dad told him to do, came out to try to break it up. You can hear him tell Dante, his brother, get away, get back. Mr. Mew turns around and stabs him, and Tony blocks it and stabs him again. He chose violence at every turn. There's another false narrative. They circled him. They surrounded him. Baloney. You've seen the video how many times there's open water everywhere. That he was attacked from all directions. False narrative. He said that Owen Peliquin testified that they stuck around because they wanted to see how it played out. That's true, but what he didn't mention is that Owen also said he wanted to make sure he didn't do anything to this woman. And you know what? Those instincts were exactly right. Those instincts were right. He keeps talking about how these boys wanted to make a video. Well, they were making a video. But what does that matter? They didn't start the violence. None of those boys laid a hand on him, despite the fact that he touched both Joanne Cockfield and Landon Wire when he ran up on him in the tubes. Nobody laid a hand on him until after he had already stabbed a number of people. Isaac Schumann tried to stop him, and he got killed for his efforts. He seems to be arguing, the defense seems to be arguing that Isaac somehow deserved it. I don't understand that argument. He's trying to protect people. He calls Maddie Cohen the queen of the river, and he calls her a bully, calls her a number of other unkind things. Her testimony was, and it's clear from the video, she was trying to protect these boys. She
I was going to say, that guy right there, he makes me nervous a little bit. He seems like he might go nuts if something doesn't happen correctly, if he doesn't get the right verdict.
saw that he was over there doing something, that it was freaking them out. She tried to protect them. You know, maybe if we had more people on the river trying to protect people, maybe the world would be a better place. They've made, over and over, they've argued that Maddie was never punched because she has no marks on her face. Nick Mew, who, as Mr. Trotsky said, was lifted off of his feet by the punch from Dante and punched in the jaw and fell in the river, gets up and there's no marks on his face. We have pictures from him. We have the video. We have his interview with Lieutenant Hart later. We have the pictures at the jail.
See, I don't think you should be allowed to do what that kid's doing over there, because I think it puts a ton of pressure on the jury, because they're looking over there going, God, what if he knows what we look like? What if we don't give him the verdict he wants? Will he track us down? Or, you know what I'm saying? What do you mean, geez, frozen? What are you talking about?
Jail nurse took 5 hours after. There's no bruising. There's no puffiness. There's no swelling. The fact that they're arguing that Maddie had no mark doesn't matter, because he didn't either. It happens. They're trying to say that he was terrified.
Say no to lulz, everybody. Say no to lulz.
His face tells a different story. He has expressions of anger. He has expressions of, I guess, humor. He's smiling. He's smirking. Well, after he has his knife out, he clearly feels comfortable. There's no look of terror in his face at any time.
Because you know what terror looks like?
A.J. Martin was not harmed. He pushed Mr. Mew in the back. We know that. He didn't kick him. He didn't punch him. He didn't hold his head underwater. He pushed him in the back. And for that, he got a incision on his body from his belt line all the way up. You saw the pictures. It's horrible. He used no weapon against Mr. Mew.
That's how they should do it, Daryl. I agree with that. They should be
They made
able
a
to
big
be
deal about
there,
Lieutenant Hart
but they shouldn't be able
telling,
to see the jury.
Mr. Mew in the interview that she would have been scared too. Well, she made that response after he'd been feeding her a load of BS about all this stuff that supposedly happened. About having 2 kids pulling knives on him and pulling his pants down and all the baloney that he fed her. Based on that, she said, yeah, I would have been scared too.
Yeah, he didn't know that there was video, though.
They're arguing that he had no intent to kill Isaac. Isaac weighed 134 pounds at the time. He's 250. He rams his knife up, not down, up, severing 2.
No, he went it straight out, and then he fell backwards. This guy's he's full of crap.
2 of Isaac's ribs right into his heart. All right? If he didn't intend to kill him, why not stab him in the belly? Right into his heart. We've heard no explanation whatsoever as to why he stabbed Riley Madison. We know from the video she's standing off in the background after Tony's trying to break it up. He just walked over and stabbed her. She wasn't attacking him.
How do you know? You don't see it on the video.
They don't explain that because there is no explanation. None. He wasn't in fear for his life from Riley Madison.
Guys.
She said she was 110 pounds now, might have been 115 back then. There's no fear for his life. He just was mad because she touched him. They've talked a little bit about extraneous factors. It's not just medical attention that can be an extraneous factor. As we know, multiple people on the river stopped to help these folks.
Say no to
compressions on.
lulz.
One witness said they used a sandwich bag to try to make a chest compression. There was a lot of interventions for these folks. We know with Riley Madison specifically that Larry and Davis and his brother, we saw it on the video, got her to shore on a tube. People went out of their way to help these folks. These are extraneous factors. But another extraneous factor is he just got unlucky. You know, if he, as Mr. Anderson had said, we've got arteries, we've got organs. Dr. Meyer said, you know, whenever you have an abdomen wound, you have to check all those things. It's kind of a miracle that more people didn't get killed. It's not by anything he did. He just got lucky. He missed major organs and arteries. The bottom line is he had 4 hours from the time that he was arrested to the time that he concocted this ridiculous story about the boys pulling knives on him and pulling his pants down and all this other bizarre baloney, he used his intellect, because we know he's smart, to craft this story. And he was very deliberate and detailed.
He crafted it. Yeah, he crafted a story when he thought that there wasn't a video, because he knew you wouldn't believe the reality of what happened. Doesn't that make the most sense, you guys? He knew that there wasn't a video. He knows that he stabbed people. So now he's inventing a story to try to, explain it. Because if he just said, I don't know, man, it just wouldn't work. If he just said, yeah, I was walking and he called me some names and this one guy shoved me and I went like that. There's a video. That's all that matters now. So all the other stuff, the lying, is meaningless, just like the defense attorney said.
Because he wanted to come up with a story that he thought would be sufficient to convince people that he acted in self-defense.
That looks like Joe Don Baker.
We know he lied about all of it. So now today, he's saying, well, sure, I lied about everything I said when I talked to Lieutenant Hart about what happened, but now I'm telling the truth. So now believe me. No. You have my full confidence. I know you're going to return a just verdict of guilty and deliver justice to Isaac Schumann and everybody else who got hurt by this man. Thank you.
And that guy's angry. Anyways, the jury came in and they asked for, they wanted to see the video again, twice, I guess. Look at all the icons I have on my... They wanted to see the, they wanted to see the fight on video, I guess twice, and then they want to see it first thing in the morning. I guess we're saying no to lulz. We're not saying no to lulz is what I meant. All right, you guys, I think that's going to do it. You guys have any final thoughts? We went through the whole thing. I commented throughout my own personal thoughts. Had some dissenters in here. That's okay. It's just, here's what I don't like. Dissent without logic. I can't stand it. Well, 1 + 1 = 2. Yep. I think it's equal to 3, though. How come? I just do. Okay. Well, why do you think that, though? Well, my father's a mathematician. My uncle worked for NASA, so 1 + 1 does equal 3. Well, it doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. I'm going to get going. 6 hours of shows. Bama, Budget 2, Sirius Black, Matt is a Cut Snake, Vibe Chick, Deco Trash, Chicken Wing, Jessica Schubach. Thanks, JJ. Rhea Mazarone, Jane Smith, Lisa Wilson, Billy Barker, Mark Willis, Peter Cindy J, Harley Ryder, Miss Skiss, Jessica Hood, Miss Skiss, 51 months. Man, that's a long time. Richard Watts, Uncle Rico's Camper. And by the way, thanks for all the long-term members, even the new members, but there's some that have been around for 50-something months, even like 36 months and later. It's pretty amazing, right? Uncle Rico's Camper, Revengeance, Jessica Hood, Linda Howell, as in Linda Molden Howe of the Cattle Mutilations and Crop Circles, Paulette Leonard, Peeps, Jessica Miller, Uncle Rico's Camper, thanks again, Daphne Pancakes, Jill Downey, Gene Salzman, Wake Up and Spend Some Money in Here, thanks Gray, Jill Downey, then I gifted 5 memberships, then Justin Gale, April Rain, Gene Salzman, Norm Scanlon, Veruca, what did NACI mean? Is that salt? Oh, I get it. That's I just realized it myself. That's the salts. Isn't that what that is? I think it's salt's chemical name, like let's see, what is that? Let's see if I got that right. Salt chemical name. NACI, boom. That's it. I just remembered right at the last second there. So it's Veruca Salt, just like you. So there's 2 Veruca Salts in here, but one says Veruca Salt with the chemical name. That's funny how I just remembered that after all that time. Crazy. Anyways, then we have 2 Varuk assaults and My 3 Boys. 2 of those. What are the odds of that? Uncle Rico's Camper, JJ, Jane Smith, JJ, and then Natalie from California right there at the end. And let's see. We also had Christy said hello to Chloe and Blue. Hope jury comes back with self-defense. Boom. And then also Ginger. Earlier she said, put towards the trip, please. Your story about Guam will never be forgotten. How Guam, a congressman said that if you put too much weight on one side of the island, it might tip over. Not to be confused with a congresswoman yesterday who said that that the moon was made up of gases, and we're trying to figure out a way. It's safer to land there, you know, but it's just made up of gases. But it's a little too hot. We're trying to figure out if we can land on the sun, but it's just a little. Yeah, it's 3 billion degrees. That's probably not going to happen. You know, maybe you can wear an asbestos suit, but that ain't going to work. Man, our Congress has just really got some geniuses in there. Anyways, thank you guys very much. Appreciate your support, and we'll see you tomorrow. What tomorrow brings, I have no idea. But we'll see you then, all right? So thanks for being here, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. I'm sure we'll have the verdict tomorrow. That's what my opinion is. If it keeps going, then it's going to be a hung jury. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now.
Quite a while.
And during this whole time, I have not seen one
The whole
person
time?
that is a
Crime dissector, flag rejector,
I'm a certified
human lie detector, gonna get ya.
on a stretcher. If you try and play me
like an old projector, crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a paw protector, fool deflector, interceptor. Arrow meter than a spectre with a vector on his pecker with a respector. Just remember, conjecture, I have no agenda, I never pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. And hey, I wanna say some more,
God, that is nuts. What the hell's going on, man?
No, not nothing. I just want to watch the show.
Well, I'm done with the show.
Well, I was going to watch her on Rewind with Cindy Leon.
She does watch a lot of those replays, doesn't she? Thanks for watching, Cindy. I bet you're still listening right now. All right, anyways, we'll see you guys later.
Goodbye, everybody. Jenny.
See ya, Mary Lou.